Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 24 pod of the FPL Wire. It's a big one this week. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Late Riser and Pras. But Manchester United back, guys.
It's a great time to be alive.
It's such a good time to be alive, man. What a glorious 8 days it has been. How about you, Zoph? How you enjoyed all of that?
This was good, man.
It was
I'd like to see more FPL options appear, and honestly, I was just happy to see the title race also open up a little bit more as an observer.
Yeah.
No way
did you
Chelsea
see-
was happy Man United won because we're now rivals for like top 5.
Who never knows? We could even catch Arsenal, man. You never know.
That kind of stuff. Like there's two things, despite all the positive stuff, right, that I have annoyed me the most in the post-match analysis is one, when people say, "Oh, Man United are in the title race." I know most people are joking. And the second thing is, let's give Carrick the contract. Again, I think most people are joking or it's clickbait presentation kind of thing. Like both of them are completely absurd things. Like, chill out.
Yeah, man. But it's great to just have 2 weeks to celebrate like this. I can't remember the last time we felt this good in a period of 8 days, considering anything Manchester United. It's been a lot of doom and gloom ever since Solskjaer has left, honestly. So it's just nice to have a bit of positivity back.
Yep. And if you guys are wondering on the AV side, we are in 60 frames per second now. I'm just looking and checking the chat. It looks like we are all smooth with the new internet now.
It looks fab. I can watch the YouTube stream also from here. It looks great. So much sharper now. Good job, Zoph.
Fantastic, guys. Anyways, any of you, how close are you guys on pulling the wild card?
I mean, my team is absolutely battered and on the ropes, but somehow being on the ropes has helped with a fair amount of jam. So I don't think I'm going to pull the wildcard button. It could happen, but 80% I reckon I'm going to do it.
Let's talk about Saturday. How did Saturday afternoon/evening go with the team leaks? Where were you guys? About what? It was 15 minutes prior to deadline?
Yep.
Less,
I mean,
no?
I think just about, maybe even less, maybe 12 to 10 minutes.
9 minutes or
something.
10 minutes, 10 minutes prior to deadline, I reckon.
How did you guys react? Pras, you first.
I mean, I was driving actually because at 11 I have to take my kids to this music class or whatever, not to get into the details, but I knew something is coming. So I was still aware of, because, there was these things that Rob T had shared where the market odds were dropping for Man City to win. So there was something in the air, right? So it was a question of, we're not going to act. Like, there's not going to be concrete news. It's a 3 p.m. game. So then when, I think it was Mihir in our other chat that LR you are on, and he sends in caps locks, Haaland benched or Haaland not starting. So then at that point, I stopped the car and I was like, okay, let me at least switch the captaincy. I had given enough thought that if Ekitike is starting, I'm captaining him. And there was a leak also for Liverpool that Ekitike is starting. It's the same team as Marseille. I was like, that team did well. Ekitike almost scored, hit the post or something, almost got an assist. I was like, look, that's a good matchup. And LR will also elaborate on this. And I was like, look, that's sorted. I know who I'm captaining. And then at that point, I didn't really think of putting Szoboszlai in for Haaland. Then I continued driving. And then I'm like, but you know what? I can't be starting Haaland. So I stopped the car again. And this time I'm trying to swap Haaland and Szoboszlai. I swap it. I say, save team, deadline gone. So I couldn't do that. So that's the story. Now, look, if I had thought about it maybe longer, I would have done it instantly. So I don't really say it's because of the deadline or I got unlucky. And it was something on my mind. And then while driving more, I was like, I shouldn't really be playing Haaland if he's on the bench. So I did sort of deliberate it. It wasn't obvious. But when I did do it, and I did try to do it, I couldn't do it. So that was my story.
Plus, you know, right, though, that if you did start Haaland, he would have braced off the bench and Szoboszlai would have blanked.
This is also true.
I mean,
everyone who owns Szoboszlai can thank me.
Exactly. I mean, the lads met on Saturday. A few of the Discord met on Saturday. And everybody was confident Szoboszlai is getting points because he was first on your bench. Everybody was confident. So the outcome was dependent on who your first bench was. Everybody knows.
This is amazing how this works. Last season, people used to message me, "Oh, you bought this player? Now he's gonna brace. Now it's like the opposite. It's amazing how this goes. So I'll take both sides."
The first bench was still constant though, even last year.
First year, yeah, this is true. From the Foden days when you scored 2 hat-tricks on my first bench.
Absolutely. What about you, LR?
I mean, I postponed my lunch so as to make sure that I am on desk and ready and not working when the team news came out. So had prepped in mind that if Foden goes, Bumo was coming in. I had discussed that on the team selection video as well. It was Bumo between Bumo and Ndai, and just felt like I wanted to go all in on United. The vibes were good, so that turned out pretty well.
Nice, not much of panic there.
Yeah. Just had a plan in mind. And there was a little bit of a decision. And Ekitike was always my captain. Kudos to you. You were the only one I know in the last 7 days who was hammering constantly that you're worried about Ekitike's minutes. In fact, 3 of us spoke about it on our chat as well. And you were the one who were very, and I was like, no, Zoph, you're worrying unnecessarily, etc. So good call there.
Cheers, man. So I usually sleep on Saturday afternoon. So like this afternoon, I definitely can't sleep. I need to be around
What a life.
for the deadline. So I basically had made a decision tree, right? So if X player is benched, I would do Y. So I start checking that out and checking it. Once we got the Ekitike leak early on, I was like, okay, fine. Ekitike is going to be around. So if Foden is benched, I'll probably do one single move. I'll do something like Enzo. None of my decision trees had it when both were benched. If Foden and Haaland benched. So like, okay, now what do I do? Initial plan was maybe I could do something like Foden to Semenyo captain, but it just struck me then I want to make a transfer that I don't have regret for in the next week. Whatever I do, I don't want to look at it next week and go like, oh shit, what have I done? Because it could be very thing you get in Semenyo this week and the team is weakened, right? Without Haaland and Foden, they're obviously a weaker team. So I figured, what is Semenyo blanks? And next week, I'm like, oh shit, I need to now spend this transfer to get Semenyo out. What have I gained? So the initial plan, what I always want to do is, I said, if Foden is benched, the only midfielder I'm 100% confident in bringing in is Bruno. And then I realized the whole Ekitike thing also. I looked at Ekitike for the next few weeks and like, anyway, I got to get Thiago in 3 to 4 weeks. So just get this transfer done with now. And in terms of captaincy also, I had Thiago as potentially the next best captain this week, apart from Man City. It's like I'm basically getting 2 birds with 1 stone. So I did Fernandes and Thiago in for Ekitike and Foden. And I think didn't work out as much in terms of points with captaincy, just like 5 to 6 points. But I think now the team is still set up well for the long run. Those are never transfers I'm going to regret making. 90 minutes, guys, and on penalties. So I just decided, let's just make a transfer for the long run rather than chase the short-term gain. So it's a small red this week, but I think it saved me a few transfers down the line. And headaches also, like for example, Bruno's now risen, Foden has dropped. There's so many price movements. I'd have to make transfers before the UCL deadline. So to gain that bit also, just gained peace of mind, I think. But it was stressful, man. And shout out to people who are in different parts of the world. My brother's in New Zealand. He just had a baby, a 6-month-old baby. He's like, bro, I'm not staying up or waking up at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night to take deadlines. Because once you have to make a decision like that, you can't go back to sleep. You can't just say, oh, I'll check it. Oh, I'll go back to sleep. There's no way. So people, I can understand you don't want to ruin your weekend. You've been working hard the whole week for this imaginary game. You're going to set an alarm for 1 a.m. and wake up to it. So full sympathy there. And partially, I'm happy that none of the real popular captaincy alternative went crazy. So the first thing I did after deadline was I checked the top 10. Only 2 of the guys had non-Haaland caps. Henry, who's on top of our league, and somebody else. He had Rice captain, the other guy had Thiago captain. So supposedly, imagine the swings happened over there. You got 15, 20, or maybe even bigger swings over there. That would have had a major say on the FPL title race, which I felt would have been a little bit unfair. So I think all's well that ends well in the end.
Absolutely.
The whole leaks thing is a whole other topic. I think we should discuss. And I feel like people come up with solutions on do this or do that. There is no easy solution. Like you live and die with the leaks, right? Like we used Ekitike leak to captain him. It didn't work out. So it somehow also works both ways. If you are going to go by it, then you sort of have to accept it. And some people don't go by it, and that's also fine. But I don't think moving the deadline, unless you're doing it like 24 hours before the first kickoff, it's not going to work.
And people will get information. At least this time, like, more of the general public got it. There's always going to be a close circle who get information. That shows in the bookies odd shift. If the odd shifted by nearly 0.4, bookies had the information, means other people obviously had the information.
Indeed, yeah.
Should we get started, guys? Could be a long pod today.
Yes, let's go into it. As always, the data as well as some amazing pass maps that you see on this podcast is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. If you aren't a member already, they still have a pretty strong offer, about 50% off for the rest of the season. So scan the QR code or click on the link in the description below.
As you guys know, NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you're bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services, and if you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/FPL Wire will receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. What have you guys been watching? Russ?
There's this Netflix show called His and Hers. I don't know if you've caught it. I liked it. I finished it, and it's like a nice murder mystery and a couple of dynamics. So I liked it. It was pretty nice. I started Ponies. Watched the first episode. So need to go to the second, and of course Traitors. Man, what a season. Loved it.
I guess you have to wait another week, I guess, for the Traitors embargo thing to pass, or can we discuss it now? Let's give it a little bit more time.
We'll give it
1 more week, yeah.
What about you, LR?
I saw Marty Supreme on Friday. I was really excited to check that movie out. And I thought Timothy Chalamet was absolutely outstanding. The hype behind his performance is pretty legit. It was amazing. I'm not sure if you like the movies off, because I know you don't like The Bear in terms of the chaos camera angle, etc., that they do in terms of, up close and create high moments of anxiety, etc. So people who might have something like that, don't watch it. But outside of that, it's a great watch. Typical Safdie movie. Really enjoyed it. Great direction, great cinematography. Highly recommended.
Fair shot. A show I really enjoyed was Sunny Days. It's got Will Forte in it from SNL. It's about a brother-sister. They start a spray tan company in Australia. And it's a big market in Australia, right? Because basically you can't get a natural tan in Australia at the risk of skin cancer. It's quite funny. They get mixed up with the Australian underworld. The writing's really good. Highly recommend that. The new Lord of the Rings spin-off is getting slightly better. 2 episodes of that in. Not much else.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on. Nord also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection tool. It highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/FPL Wire. Completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description below. Right, guys. Let's get started. And first up, Ella, tell us about this meetup.
Yes, it was a pretty eventful weekend, to say the least. I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk about it. On Saturday, what happens is, one weekend in January, there is a festival that happens in Bombay where a couple of headline acts come. And so a few Discorders from different parts of the country come down to Bombay. So we keep the annual Discord meetup for FPL during this weekend. So there were people who came in from Hyderabad, from Delhi, from Kerala, and we all decided to meet. And a couple of them were at the fest and immediately left their wives, girlfriends, other group of friends for this FPL meetup. And it was great. This one guy, Suyash, he found out about the plan at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, he was there. So it was great that everybody did, and he came straight from Thane, which is like a distance from where we met. And shout out to Ganti and Karan for organizing this, because it was a fabulous night. Lots of great banter, lots of spilling the tea, and they were telling us stories about their favorite content creators, etc. We sent across some videos to our fellow content creators as well. Just a glorious night, and they've made me be behind you, where Zoph, you have to show up for the next one.
I was going to for this one. My folks just were visiting in town, but definitely in for the next one.
Yep. Just shout out to Karan, by the way. He had 2 hard nights back to back. And then Linkin Park was performing on the Sunday, for which all of us were going. He had a hard night. We started drinking at 7 o'clock in the evening, was there till 1 o'clock in the night. He showed up for Linkin Park at 11 o'clock in the morning the next day, so that he could sit first or second in line, and sat there for 9 hours. They were performing at 8 p.m. in the night. So he waited there, sat there, held his ground, and a genuine core memory moment for him as well. I was there for the gig as well. It was fabulous.
Fantastic, guys. Definitely will make it for the next one. Looks like a great time. And yeah, it was fun getting all the videos during the game.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got my standard Saboslai has scored as usual kind of video as well.
So this happened the last meetup.
Everybody was cheering for you.
This happened at the last meetup when I was in Singapore also. Plus that time it was Rogers on the bench against Man City.
I need to
end this on your first bench.
I'm going to start putting OB on my first bench.
You never know, man. Man United are flying these days. You never know what happens.
Yeah. So ask the Discord this morning what they wanted in terms of the agenda this week, and this is what we have. So first up, as we're going to start looking back at the weekend's games, look at some past maps, and it's something I want to start doing more going forward. I don't think we look back at individual games and trends enough. Then we start looking into the wildcard. So first up, what do we gain from not wildcarding in 24? What's the benefit in waiting? Pras will walk us through that. Players and teams to target, defense, midfield, and forwards. And this is important for non-wildcarders as well. Build towards your transfers over the next few weeks or even this week. And whether you should wildcard or not, what are the tilting decisions potentially? We look at our various wildcard drafts. All three of us put one in together without sending it or showing it to each other. Talk about captaincy, primarily Bruno versus Haaland this week, and our teams and plans going forward. So also, guys, any of you guys who are subscribed as Patreon or YouTube members, I made a new channel on the Discord where you can just post your team and ask whether you should wildcard. So we'll have a look at each of those individually. And as always, if you guys do want to get involved in the discussion, you sign up on patreon.com/the FPL Wire or join up as a YouTube member. Let's get started, guys. So first up, let's start. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a joke. Like, should we wildcard sounds like the Is It Cake kind of show, like
It does.
Should you wildcard, and we press yes or no? But yeah, we'll do that.
Absolutely. Cool, guys. Let's start looking back at some of the games from this weekend. First up, let's talk about Manchester City. Interesting setup they used. And like I mentioned, Semenyo, his positioning was very interesting. I know he got only one goal. There was this one pass also he received from Gehi, and one shot he also thundered against the post. I think he's going to be very much the primary goal threat in that team alongside Haaland. Pep's comments were also interesting post-game. They asked him why was Foden and Haaland dropped. And he kept saying numbers. The front guys need to keep posting numbers, goals and assists. What do you think, Keller? I think Semenyo, somebody asked me in the Discord how many games he's going to start now. Premier League games, especially from now till the end of the season. I don't see him missing many because it's a very unique profile compared to their other players.
And it's not like he's holding width and is very, very wide, right? He's sort of playing like an inside forward as well. So I think he's a very, very strong pick. And people that have already gone there, I think he's a very, very strong differential. Like outside of Haaland, he's the pick to have from that City midfield. In vogue pick in the City midfield at the moment, I reckon.
Your thoughts, Pras, from this game?
Yeah, I think there's lots going for him, right? Although there's only 1 week now of no Europe, but there was certainty in his minutes. He can play both sides, which helps him. If Doku's injured, he plays. If Cherki or Foden have an issue, then he plays. So that goes with him. And the directness, right? I mean, Doku is also direct, right? So, but it's not the same. Doku cuts and tries to cut the ball in for Haaland to tap in, or for somebody else. Doku rarely shoots. He does sometimes. But Semenyo, his first thought is cut in and shoot, which is something different, which is more like an inside forward. One caveat, this was Marmoush, right? Marmoush's role is different from Haaland's role. So when they play more together, is it a case of sort of Man City telling them that, look, listen, this is not Bournemouth. You need to feed the machine, not your role is to create chances to have to hold the width. Whether that changes over time is something that I'll want to see. But for now, looks like good pick.
I do think though, like the little bit of freshness, Pras, is. I think they need to have one or two potent goal threats outside of Haaland. I think Pep is realizing that the league is realizing that you can't just feed Haaland and play. So it's good to have a little bit of unpredictability. And one thing about Semenyo that works in his favor, he's had a quicker integration than most of the new attackers in a City team. A, because he knows the league, but B, he comes from the Andoni Iraola school of thought, where he tracks back, does the tactical stuff, does the hard work, puts in the hard yards, which is something Pep appreciates. So his minutes do seem fairly secure, at least amongst
my skepticism. You remember Mahrez when they used to have Sane and Sterling. Mahrez comes into the league and everybody was like, "This is unfair, man! Like you're getting like such a solid player who's an amazing, is an upgrade to what you have." And he was good. He showed flashes, but he didn't get the minutes we thought. And of course, every case is different. But that always sticks in my head as, Mahrez didn't work out either. And he was this exact same profile, not exact same, but similar profile where he could do something just by his own. But then Pep started to control him a little bit. Don't do too much of this. So that's my skepticism. That's where it's coming from.
The question I want to ask both of you is with regards to Haaland though. Are you worried about his minutes at all going into the future? Marmoush was pretty good in the game. What are your thoughts there?
Some management might happen, and I think it needs to happen. Let's be honest, it's not practical to be playing the guy every 3 days. Now, it might happen in the games we might need him, like this one, like the easier fixtures, especially around the Champions League games. And I think it'll be good for it, man. Hopefully, we don't get leaks the next time. We can potentially bring some more X minutes guessing into play, but I think it could make things a bit more interesting. The answer to your question is yes.
Like there was
that's the main thing with captaincy.
Yeah.
From that point.
Yeah, you can take him on a little bit, but of course at your own risk. But I would say, if there was such an issue with just rest, then why the hell has he played Exeter? I know Mamouche wasn't available, but somebody could have played. So it's not just rest. There's something else in terms of tactics, how he's evolving the tactics. Is he fitting into the new, Pep rediscovers himself 3 times a season. So there could be something around that which we're not seeing.
Yeah,
in terms of tactics, you should mention what Neil has written over here. So it wasn't actually Marmoush replacing Haaland up front. Instead, the Egyptian and Semenyo lined up as narrow wingers. Cherki started as a false nine. And sometimes it was Reinders. They were interchanging, and Marmoush was actually playing out wide. So again, this is now Pep going back to the system of making your midfielders operate as a false nines. They won a title using this very system.
He learned from Carrick from the previous week. Exactly that setup, if you think about it.
The Roy Keane Carrick feud is epic, man.
It's insane, bro. All the food that I've been having watching Sky Sports just has way too much salt on it. That's all I'll say.
the pettiness is glorious. I mean, the unmitigated pettiness is incredible.
Exactly, man. Question though, because we are not at the moment as things stand on Wildcard. But if on Wildcard, would you take Haaland on?
No, man. But who will there's a lot of guys in the Discord was asking the same thing, that maybe I'm like, over 1 million, I'm over 2 million. I want to take Haaland on, but who do you take him on with? That is the biggest problem this season.
Yeah. I mean, Salah scores a brace and then this discussion becomes very interesting, right? So until that happens, so if you want to be one of those managers that assumes that happens, then sure. But, we're talking in a world where people don't want Saka, people don't want Palmer, people don't want Salah. Then even if you think Haaland will do 70% of what he normally does, he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't take him on. I just also personally believe in the wounded tiger syndrome, and a benching like this is just something. Even the comments that Haaland made in terms of the captaincy group apologized, etc., and we'll make up for it. I just think he's too good to sit down, lay low. It is worth noting though that he's had this second half slight downward trajectory for a couple of seasons now, where he just tend to taper down a little, just like Salah does as well. So just one to watch. But I wouldn't take him on Wildcard.
I looked at the draft without Haaland on Scout as well. So what they've done is primarily on the draft, we'll show you guys. We've got all very similar midfields. It's gone Saka over Rice. And instead of like a cheap forward, you put in Thiago to bench him the next few weeks. It doesn't seem like an efficient use of the money to me. You've not gained another captaincy option over there. Like, you're not going to captain Saka right now in any week except 26. What are you really gaining? Are you getting a good first bench? Thiago could get a brace in any of these fixtures against Villa and Newcastle. He hauled against Everton, but very good FPL players had him on their bench. So I just don't see the benefit, at least right now, as we are talking.
I'm with you.
Yeah. I think some other takeaways from Man City. Nico O'Reilly obviously started this one. He played at left back. But I think Gehi, now if you're investing in Man City, I think Gehi, I just don't see him missing a game now, potentially like till the end of the season. Maybe when Guardiola and Diaz are back, but just in terms of robustness and what he brings to the team, he looked like he hadn't missed a beat. Just slotted straight right in. Very good player.
Yeah. But I don't feel like if you're an O'Reilly owner, the O'Reilly to Gehi's transfer is needed, because O'Reilly's minutes feel fairly secure to me too. Like, I don't think he's going to manage, because one of the problems that he had was the backline. That was an issue. And him having 3 first choice defenders back in Matheus Nunes, O'Reilly, and Gehi should, in terms of how generally stable they looked.
They did, but Nouri is back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Same thing, right?
I would say he's first choice, but first choice equals 2 starts in 3, 3 starts in 4. Like, we don't know that.
Fair shot. I completely forgot the Ait Nouri being back thing.
Yeah, and I think if you're buying on Wildcard now, and primarily that's one of the focuses for this pod, you buy Gehi. I still like him as a pick. I think even against Tottenham, you can play him. Maybe Liverpool is the only fixture you need to bench him. And he had 2 decent goal chance involvements as well. He had one opportunity from the set piece and also the ball he played to Semenyo. Absolutely brilliant, because what he brings in terms of ball progression, neither Diaz or Guardiola can play passes like that.
Yep.
Top by. Anything else on City, guys?
No, I think that's all.
I think Foden, we've already spoken. Foden, you get rid of this week. Cherky.
Who is Foden?
Yes, sir.
Pretty much that. Semenyo, you
hold. Gehi buy. Semenyo buy. Haaland buy. I mean, hold.
And the context to this is City are very likely going to be blanking in 31 anyway. I know 31 is 6-7 weeks away, but like you don't need those players. They definitely can't double before that. So it's okay if there's minutes risk, there's other good picks.
And also, like, City do a good job of smelling weakness. Like this sort of a wobble that Arsenal sort of shows them, like they will be licking their lips and chomping at the bit to play football again next week. And Leeds away for Arsenal isn't an easy fixture, so it's going to be interesting.
Indeed. And also, I think maybe now we should talk about the double. Also, we are always assuming that Arsenal will progress. Chelsea could potentially give them a fight as well.
Nice try.
Come on, Elad. I was like, come on, expecting a yeah. What is it?
We learn information when we learn the next midweek. Until then, I have not much to say. I don't even know where Chelsea shows up, right? Like, in terms of how they're rotating, etc. They seem to have like 3 or 4 players that are getting changed every week. So,
yep. Speaking of Chelsea, this is our pass map from the last game against Palace. Palmer missed out on the squad entirely. Fofana was also rested. Badiashile came in place. Enzo played in a forward role, and that's the number 10. Caicedo and Santos, it's a double pivot with your Neto and Estevao, who's the most forward player you could see on this pass map. He was really pretty much the outlet. Very impressive game from him. And again, I think if the minutes were secure, potentially the best Chelsea mid to have, but the minutes are not going to be, right? And I think so many questions on the Discord this morning is like, what about Neto? What about Pedro? And I think we all know the answer, man. Minutes are the problem with Chelsea.
yep. And the thing is, now it's not like you can even predict. Let's say, okay, Pedro's done well in the last 2 games. He might become first choice. If he becomes first choice, he's likely to play the Napoli game and the Arsenal game. Like, and because the league games are slightly easier on paper as well. So we don't even know what first choice means. So it's difficult to gauge everything at the moment.
Your thoughts, Pras, on Chelsea picks?
They're dwindling. Where I know the theme of this is Wildcard 24, right? And I have always maintained that Wildcard 24's biggest edge was Palmer, I felt. Like, I know you can get Palmer otherwise, LR has him now. But it was the ability to get to Palmer and have 3 good Chelsea players and get your Man United players. So when you take Palmer out of the equation, the others become a lot easier to get to. Like, you don't need to do a lot to get to Enzo or, to Chalobah if you wanted to. And the delta between them is also not so huge. So let's say Palmer was starting every single game 90 minutes against West Ham. Palmer's the captain this week. But no chance anybody's doing that because you don't even know if he'll start the game. So that for me just ruins Chelsea as a team, as picks. Even Enzo, people are going, but they're basically hoping for some minutes in 10, some minutes in 8, maybe a penalty. Even if he misses a game, he's not that expensive. It doesn't ruin your structure so much. So sure, let's go for it. Maybe people can have the same argument for João Pedro. Personally, I think there's better strikers on penalties, even if the fixtures aren't as good. Minutes are better. And then Chalobah, right? I mean, that's it. Unless there's an injury to Palmer and then Estevao becomes an option. Even then, like Neto is there and Garnacho is there. I just think it's a difficult one. At the end of Gameweek 28, you can look back and say, oh, this guy was obvious and he got 50 points. Right now, it's very difficult to say.
Absolutely. I think the 3 picks, pretty much that's it from the Chelsea team you can go for. Enzo, Chalobah and Sanchez. Pedro, like you mentioned, there's a whole rotation thing that might happen. You never know which game he's going to be rotated. It will help, of course, tomorrow. If we do manage to make it to the last day, there's 2 less fixtures we have to play. Then potentially you could justify that punt a little bit more. But with Enzo Rosinio, something else he's spoken about his leadership profile in the team. And you could see when we had the game wrapped up pretty much 3-0, we made a lot of substitutions, but Enzo stayed on the pitch. That generally spoke to me a lot about his general robustness. And even the way he took his penalties, he's really emerging as a leader in this very young squad. So I'm very confident, I think, of all the Chelsea attackers, that he's the one who's most likely to play every game in the run we are looking for. I'm reasonably confident over there that he'll not be rested. Maybe I think him and Caicedo are the only one of the 10 outfield players who will potentially start all the Premier League games we need him for. Even Chalobah, I think, could get a rest, especially if he's needed in those playoff games. But apart from that, not
Also,
really much else. Go
he
ahead.
just looks great. Like takes up great positions in attacking spots. Even if he's playing at 8, I'm not worried too much because he's mastered the art of that late run for the cutback, right? And the kind of wingers that Chelsea have, you need people in the center of the box for the cutback. So he's just a great pick. And if Palmer's not going to be on the pitch, let's say 50% of the times, he's got 50% pen share, which is pretty significant in my opinion. I wanted to
In
ask you
games
about
where
Sanchez.
they'll have a lot of the ball and they're pacey wingers, like, pen shout only goes higher the more possession you have against the easier teams. So generally speaking, I think, Enzo's fine.
Exactly. Good,
Sorry, you were saying.
good purchase.
And also, he'll have some
I was
set pieces
asking-
when Reece James isn't on the pitch. Go ahead. What were you asking?
About Sanchez, I mean, how long is Jorgensen out for? Because the couple of comments that your manager has made has me a little worried about who actually is first choice for Chelsea as a keeper. Are you worried about that at all? Because people might make that decision on wildcard, and we want a robust keeper pick.
Not really. I think if anything, he can maybe a bit more generous to Jorgensen in the cup competitions, but it's not the stage for that now because Carabao, you're reaching towards the semis. Champions League also you're reaching towards knockouts. I don't think he'll get minutes. And with Sanchez, the performances, barring that one game against Arsenal, have been quite good. He did make a couple of good saves against Palace. He did a lot of good saves the last game as well against Brentford. So I think it's his shot to lose. He has to have a few absolute clangers now to get dropped.
And has Cuckoo been really attacking? Before we came, we thought that these guys, the wing backs, wouldn't invert, etc. Has he been attacking as a fullback, or Chalobah's just a better pick?
I think Chalobah is just a better pick in terms of minutes because you see Kukurea, he is a bit more advanced, but actually I would say he was more of an attacking threat under Maresca. In that system where you would see him sort of box crashing a little bit, pretty much playing as an additional forward on the left half space. That in fact won't happen as much now. I think his attacking threat is actually worse, not better.
All right. And one last question, because I think it's important to discuss this, is after the new managers come, I feel like Chelsea's looked a lot better in attack in terms of you're taking more risks, etc. It's a little less control and a little more dynamic in terms of the football you guys are playing. But I think that's eating into your defensive robustness / stability. And for those that are on wildcard, just the fixtures are too good, don't worry from doubling up, or would you recommend against the double up?
The tricky thing is now, I think there is a possibility that Chelsea could also get the double, right? Let's just say, obviously it's a low chance. Let's say even there's a 10% chance. So at least you want to have 2 Chelsea players in so you can get the third one. You do have the double. And the way we're expecting things to pan out now, we'll probably get the provisional announcement by this Friday. They're potentially waiting for the Champions League results this weekend and Chelsea-Arsenal play, I think, on Wednesday next week. Only by then you will have an absolutely 100% picture of what the doubles in 26 would look like. So as of now, I think I would go with one of Sanchez or Chalobah. Enzo is the lock. Today, if you're not on wildcard and you have to prioritize a Chelsea player to buy, it's not in defense. Enzo, I think, is as close to a must-have. We talk about tilting decisions. The thing is, with Enzo, the price is accessible, but he's as close to a must-have now for the next 4, I think. Especially with this Palmer situation. Because Palmer, what I'm expecting, I think he'll play Napoli, play Arsenal, and he'll miss the 2 league games over there. Then he'll play, I think, Wolves again, because I think Leeds and Wolves is a Saturday, Tuesday turnaround for us. So play one of those again as well. So the bench, I think, is big for Enzo.
On the keepers, just one pro tip. If Chelsea do win and finish in the top 8, just get Sanchez and Sa. Because with Sanchez and Sa, you've guaranteed yourself a keeper in blank game week 31 and you've guaranteed yourself a double game week keeper in 26. So that should be
Good shot there.
Good shot.
Anything more on Chelsea, guys?
I think we've we've covered everything that needs to be covered.
The next one is Bournemouth. Interesting setup that Bournemouth used against Liverpool. Jimenez played as one of the wingers, and at the time of signing, I think they've already completed the acquisition of Ryan. Now that'll be interesting where he plays because Adley has been pretty decent on the left wing, and that's where Ryan usually plays as well. So Jimenez, whether he'll continue playing in that role or drop back, something to be monitored. James Hill started again, received a lot of praise from his manager LR. I know you shouted him out. He got an assist as well. I think his role does look there to continue. They might sign someone. That's potentially the only jeopardy over there. But Bournemouth's attacking numbers in general play, I think, has been improving a little bit. Now, Evan Nilsson's got 3 goals in the last 4 games. And there's an interesting quote on Krupi also. So what I did was I benched Haaland and played Krupi this week, right? So I had very high hopes. I didn't really like what I saw of him. I thought tactically he wasn't getting into the box as much. Even when he was making the runs, a lot of the times the teammates weren't actually finding him. I was wondering what's up with that. So there's this quote now from Iraola. Says, I'm very happy with June, probably more happy than when he was scoring the goals because of his work rate and basically the defensive stuff he's doing. He's allowing us to play with 2 number 9s. I think he had to change his game a lot because I think he's a number 9 and we are demanding a lot of work, but I appreciate a lot. I think he's playing as many minutes and getting so many stars because he's really helping us to be better. So as you say, probably he will not appear in the same way if you don't score. But I think if we keep him on the pitch, it's a matter of time before he finds ways to score because he's a great finisher. So I wanted to spend some time on Krupi because again, he's a major pick for the wildcarders for that cheap striker spot versus him and Mane. So, and the fixtures are really good. So I think Krupi is still worth including. Despite all the signings they've made, there's also this guy they've signed, Alex Toth. Generally a central midfielder, but he can play in that number 10 role as well. So despite Krupi getting subbed off at 60, 70 minutes, do you think he's a no-brainer on wildcard, Pras?
Depends on your structure, right? I mean, if you're going for Mane, like a one single striker structure, so you'll see on my draft, I've gone for that version because I think you can take on Thiago for 3 weeks. So, you can plan that transfer and that transfer can be planned because let's say you have Saka. So there is a transfer route where you can get to that. If your structure is that you have 2 strikers, so you have Thiago as your second striker, then I think you have to choose between Mane and Krupi. And I think that decision is better made at the end of this week when we see a little bit what are the prospects that Arsenal is now confirmed. Arsenal is anyway confirmed, but what is your strategy in terms of going forward? Do you need that Mane spot or do you need that Krupi spot every single week? Because Krupi can be played every week now until game week 31, I feel like, because bonus fixtures, there's no bad fixture now till game week 31. So, but if he's going to be a first bench every week, then might as well have Mane, because then you have that 1 week in game week 26 where he can cover for Thiago, who has a difficult fixture, and you play Mane for his double game week. I know one of them is against Arsenal. So it's really structure dependent. I don't think there's a clear answer between them, but I like both of them.
Ella, your thoughts?
It's tough, right? Because when Bournemouth get another attacker, does Krupi stay on the pitch or does he get benched? In that case, I prefer Mane. It's just we don't know what's going to happen once Bournemouth get an attacker or 2 on the pitch, and who's the one who sort of sits out. Now that Evan Nilsson is finding a bit of form and has scored 3 goals in the last 4, good job, Pras. I don't even know who's going to be sticking as striker. So that makes me slightly dicey about, who's actually going to keep that role. And if he's going to be a 30-minute guy, then I'd much rather Mane because he's going to be useful in the double and his minutes seem a lot more secure as well. So it's tight between the two. I actually don't know how to judge because I don't. And if Krupi is the 60-70 guy continuously, then I prefer him because I think you will see value in him playing 2 or 3 games. And Bournemouth, like you rightly said, are finding a bit of form as well.
So the thing with Krupi, and I've been an owner since game week 9, he very, very rarely gets past the 70th minute. So that's why I don't like starting him on a regular basis, maybe unless you need to maybe hide somebody like this week, maybe like an O'Reilly, for example. You want to hide him for the next couple of fixtures. Use him as a rotation option. That's fine. But somebody, let's say you like, I want to play Krupi every week, and I don't think you really need to now the way the prices are. Nobody's really constrained for money in that sense. So I wouldn't like to rely on every week. But the thing is, I still think Bournemouth score more goals than Wolves. That's why I think for me, Krupi is a no-brainer over Mane. I think he'll keep continuing to get minutes. There may be some cameos over there, especially when you have short turnarounds. Iraola needs to rotate because that's the intensity with which they play. For me, I think Krupi is clear.
Again, one other risk with Krupi is they sign somebody on Sunday after you played your wildcard.
That's my point. I don't know if he sticks in the starting 11. That's the only thing.
We keep our ears out for noises, I think, by Saturday. But I think the fact they've signed Rayan, they've signed a goalkeeper, they've signed Toth, don't think they will anymore.
I also just wanted to add a note on Hill, where you rightly said that he's been singing his praises. But the one thing that Iraola mentioned, let me just remove the quote, is quite telling. He said that he started and he's made this position his own now. And we've improved defensively. That sort of gives me the indication that at 3.9, he's a fairly secure punt to take, which enables a lot else in your wildcard draft as well.
And
Let me just.
very important point, he's now the throw-in taker. So after
Yes.
Semenyo's gone, he mentioned this, Iraola said this in the press conference, that now Hill is our long throw-in taker, which is like now a whole new thing, right, in the game where he's in the team probably because he throws really well. So of course you need to defend well as well, but that's a new role for him, and that also adds to his X minutes.
Yeah, I'll just read the exact quote I have in front of me right now. He said, "I know probably we still have the set play thing that we have to improve, but I think Hilly is very good on the ball. I also think is also someone who has played for us at centre back, number 6, right back, and he has taken his opportunity. I like the fact that he mentions he's taken his opportunity. It means that sort of he's established himself now, right? At the end, he trains very well, and normally when you train very well and you are there ready for your chance, I'm very happy when you take it. So just, I mean, you can't get a better confirmation of quote than this, in my opinion. So that's 3.9. I think it's worth a pop.
See, the risk though is you need that player for game week 31, and game week 31 is quite a way away. So maybe he's fine, but if you can get to Senesi, just go Senesi. That's the issue. That he's great, almost too good right now, Hill. But because we have blank game weeks coming up, and you don't want to be free hitting in 31, you'll already have triple Arsenal. You probably have Mane in your team. These guys are not playing, so this is where you need to sort of balance out the amount of risk that you want to take. Sure, I think Hill is fine, but what if he's not? Then what happens?
I'll just say the point on that. The 31 fixture is against United. The likelihood of a clean sheet isn't very high. So you wouldn't worry too much about having those 2 points or 4 points, let's say, from Senesi. You know, it's not a big.
But you know what
difference.
happens? You're like, I have 8 players instead of 9 now, and so you feel more uncomfortable. And so you end up taking a hit.
Yeah, but the price difference is like 1.2, 1.3 million. If you spend that on the pitch, I think you earn 4 points with that price difference, just based on what we are seeing.
Senesi is like 4.7 now.
0.9.
Yeah,
The difference is 0.8,
Yeah,
0.9.
0.9.
It all depends how many weeks you want to play him leading up to 31. If you're going to would like to field him at least 4 to 5 weeks, and I think Senesi justifies the extra spend.
I'm not sure about that. Because if he's starting, what's the difference?
Senesi is attacking as well, man. How many assists has he got?
Assist potential, yeah.
He got an assist, very good assist last week as well.
Yeah.
He did, yes.
No, look, if you told me Hill is starting every single game till game week 31, I would play him. Actually, I can play him every single week because, like I said, same issue with Krupi. Their fixtures until 31, every single week you can play them. Especially he's a DEFCON guy as well.
Yeah.
So
and like
it's great.
You know, if it means, like I was trying to build a wildcard squad. If it means you can maybe squeeze in an extra Semenyo or an extra Watkins or an extra Munoz, it's worth getting that differential high upside.
Downgrade, I would say.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for in the squad, to identify. If I move, let's say, maybe a Lacroix to a Richards, it's an acceptable downgrade. There are always things like that. Now, if let's say you move a Gabriel to a Calafiori, it's not an acceptable downgrade. Things like that.
Except Richards is an upgrade on Lacroix.
He is, my bird.
But Richards is not a fair comparison. Richards is nailed, ultra nailed.
I know.
Exactly.
I get just like that. So in that sense, I can understand if you need to find some money. And also, we should mention Bournemouth have signed a new goalkeeper. I think that's going to help them also a bit more defensively.
Yeah.
Anything else here, guys?
No, that's it.
Evan Nielsen as a striker.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about him. He's in my wildcard draft as a short term, maybe I think stopgap, you could say, for Thiago over the next year, but I think you could even hold him for longer. The minutes look good and potentially penalties too.
Penalties.
It's just, Pras, are you going to finish your dinner? Yeah, I know you're going to get the chances.
I'm bad at penalties. That's the problem.
That's the only. He's first choice penalty, right? Penalty taker. We presume that now that Tavernier is not there as well. So that's another bow.
Could be Krupi.
Somebody told me, I didn't watch the Brighton game, that Krupi actually wanted to take the pen that Tavernier took.
Oh,
I can't vouch for that firsthand. I didn't watch it.
That's an interesting one. He's my backup plan. We'll discuss my team.
Krupi is not going to be on the pitch for 90 minutes, so there will be some pen share for Evan Nielsen, I think, either.
Yeah. No, Evan Nielsen is a decent pick. But look, the elephant in the room is Bournemouth are actually quite looking like worse. Like Iraola can say, oh, we're looking defensively better. They're leaking goals. They've lost their best 3 attackers in Tavernier, Semenyo, and Kluivert.
Even Brooks.
Kluivert, you can
the
argue.
Entire front
even
3,
Brooks. So it is an attack where if you're making a bet, you're not sure if that bet wins. is the problem. So maybe your bet is the cheaper the bet, the better it is.
But I read somewhere, I think they since Game Week 16 they have either the highest shots or the most goals in the league. One of the two, if I'm not mistaken as well. So they're scoring goals at the moment. However, they are doing it.
Move on to Liverpool now, the same game. So Liverpool continued with the same 4-2-2 formation they employed against Marseille. This meant that the forwards, they sort of played like split forwards, which allowed these midfielders to get forward a lot. That's why I see Szoboszlai and Wirtz in a bit more advanced positions. Szoboszlai still didn't have a single shot inside the penalty area. The fullbacks obviously were a bit more advanced. Slot spoke about how Kirkes is potentially entering in the red zone now. So we could see a rest for him midweek, potentially. I think they play Karabakh at
They
Anfield.
wanted to sell Robertson. Maybe that's why they were like, wait, let's not do that.
Absolutely. I think Baker blocked the move. Baker is a massive Robertson hater. So shout out to him for buying Salah this week. He's the only one I think who benefited from that assist, which Mo laid on to Szoboszlai. But apart from that, Liverpool, we had Ekitike benched over here. Now, Ekitike is an interesting one. If you hold him now, I don't think you sell him in the short term. I think it's fine. He got the rest out of the way. I think he probably plays the midweek fixture in the Champions League. Then he plays, and obviously, the next two league games against Newcastle and Man City. And they have a free midweek also coming up the week after that. That's assuming that they make it to the last 8. What are you guys thinking as Ekitike owners?
I think he's not a immediate sell. If you have other priorities, I think he's a fine hold, because I also kind of like these high transition games. I said that just last week as well for Bournemouth. So you sell him when you need to fund something, or if you don't have any other priority moves to make. Outside of that, he's all right as a hold.
I think he definitely suits the system a lot more than Gakpo does.
Yeah, 100%. But who's going to be picking the team on the weekend?
Yeah, if Slot stays, right? That was going to be my answer. But there's also, before we get to Slot, there's this stat where whenever Gakpo started, Liverpool haven't won. Have you seen that?
Yes, that
it was
image.
Like Gakpo start,
no Gakpo,
Liverpool
no
draw.
Gakpo.
Gakpo start, Liverpool draw or loss, and then Gakpo bench, Liverpool win. So there is a bit of that, but obviously Slot likes him. But yeah, to LR's question, I don't know if Slot is there, and that's why I'm waiting. Like, I could have done my move, which I'm planning to do, which is Ekitike to Mbumo in 2 moves. But I didn't do it because there is some value in just waiting and seeing. Maybe it's another manager, and maybe he's the guy.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm so scared. I made the Ekitike to Thiago sell, and Thiago immediately scored 5 goals, right? I am so scared of the same thing happening if I reverse it. I'm just so scared of the same thing happening if I reverse it. Like, it's just stuck in my head that could happen. But I'm very curious to see how Salah and Ekitike work together as well. Because Salah, I mean, did you see the match of the day analysis? Well, where he had that chance on the right, he was through one goal and he didn't shoot. Maybe that's just a little lack of sharpness post AFCON, but I think him and Ekitike together can really work.
Absolutely. And Slot mentioned also the reason Ekitike didn't play was simply minutes management, load management. He's the only fit striker. You have to keep him fit now. You have to manage his load. Then the fact he was just coming on the back of a hamstring injury, it's not a system thing. It's very clear. I think now Ekitike and Salah is first choice. Go on, Pras. You're saying something?
It's also who you sell and how you time it, right? This is my other problem. Like, last week you did it. I understand it. Because Thiago had Nottingham Forest at home, potential captain option. Like, you can argue alongside the Arsenal guys. This week he's Villa away. Villa away is okay, right? It's not amazing. Then Newcastle away, again, not amazing. Arsenal home, not amazing. So for me, the entry point for Thiago is not this week. You can obviously get him. I get the whole argument that you want him later anyway, so might as well get the striker you want. But if you're trying to time this in a way where you don't get punished, and then you're not, because Thiago is now blank 2 game weeks in a row, I think.
Yes.
So I just think, as you know, is Ekitike that bad that you're desperate to turn him into a Thiago? Just wait for 3 weeks and maybe the luck turns. Maybe Thiago scores 2 more hat tricks. But it's worth waiting, I feel.
I'll just say about the matchups though. Like, Brentford love these sort of games against Aston Villa, Newcastle, where they just get to counter. And Thiago's best friend is back. He had 1.35 NPXGI in like 30 minutes this weekend. He's the best penalty. Yeah, he's the best penalty winner in the league this season. He's the Sterling that we have known of old as well, which is why I feel like I don't think it's the worst thing to, because They're looking to counter. Thiago Shada and Brentford and Otara are perfect sort of people to have. The one thing though, which worries me about Brentford is if Damsgaard is injured. If he's injured, the line-breaking pass maker sort of goes away. So that's a key bit of news because he came off with an injury. We don't know if that's a short-term or a long-term injury for Damsgaard. So just watch out for that bit of info.
From what I've heard, is definitely not something that will have him back the next game week. I think you're looking at potentially 2 to 3 game weeks out for Damsgaard. But the point you made about the counter, I think, is very valid. With Ekitike, I think you keep an eye on Bruno G's availability. The news we have from Eddie Howe is potentially he's looking at him back even for PSG. If he makes a Liverpool game or not, we have to wait and see. And they haven't won a single league game without Bruno G since he's joined Newcastle. That's an amazing stat.
That's it. Shout out to Van Dijk owners. Finally get the goal. It's insane how IRL and FPL works, right? It was probably his worst performance this season. Like he was responsible for 2 of the goals that Liverpool conceded, and then gets DEFCON and scores a goal as well.
Congratulations, Pras.
No comment. I mean, I was always playing him. I believe in Van
Yeah.
Dijk. Van Dijk is staying in my team.
Yeah.
A couple of good home
In
games.
FPL, to be clear, I think he's rubbish these days
Before
in real
we
life.
move on, I just want to mention Wirtz. I think he's looked like Liverpool's best player in the last 4-5 weeks, and he's like the low-key differential for people that already own him. Like his minutes look secure. He looks like he's just in a great moment in terms of the form he has, etc. as well. He looks good on the ball every time I watch him as well. So, like he said, outside differential. Like people have too many other priority options to jump on in midfield that they will ignore Wirtz. And I just can see him ticking along the way.
Anything else on Liverpool?
That's it.
Just a short note
Would you
on
have any
West.
Liverpool on Wildcard? No, right?
I don't think so.
If there is rumors Slot is about to go?
Then maybe I'd be tempted. And I think I would go Wirtz over Ekitike.
Like there's a scope to just wait and watch, right? Because the fixtures aren't like the best on paper immediately, right? He's got Newcastle City, then Sunderland and Forest away. So you can take your 2-3 weeks to assess how their shape is developing, etc., and then jump on who the option might be.
So this is West Ham's pass map, and I think they deserved a mention, having got wins now in the last 2. The bottom 5 is sort of alive and kicking now in the Premier League. They're picking up points every week, and I think Bowen's really benefited now from the players they are signed now, having more players in central positions. The front 4 you see over here, Somerville, Castellanos, Pablo, and Bowen. Bowen needs these guys. I think Bowen playing centrally is always, it doesn't just suit his game style. This was his first time this season, he got a double-digit haul, but the shot in the box for the penalty, only attempt in the box. The only cross he made was his only attempted assist. So underlying numbers will never be there with Bowen, but I think if you're looking for a forward, what are West Ham's fixtures like? Do you guys have any idea? Should I pull that up?
I have that in front of me. They don't have the best fixtures. They've got Chelsea away. Then they've got a decent fixture, Burnley away. Then United home, Bournemouth home, Liverpool away, Fulham away, City. So they're playing some of the top teams in the next few. And they've got a couple of games against Burnley and Bournemouth in the middle of that as well.
Not interested. I mean, he took a pen, which makes people more interested, but...
And I think Paqueta not playing, probably I think wasn't the benefit. The whole team was a lot more cohesive. Shout out to Matthias Fernandes. Great game. Good weekend for all the Fernandes.
Yep.
Sorry, Ella, you were saying something?
No, I had the underlying data in front of me about Bournemouth. In the last 6, they're sitting second for NPXG and top 4 goals in the league. So the attacking data is quite... I myself was surprised when I found that out this week in terms of their powering in attack.
Absolutely. Right. Should we move on for team reviews now to wildcard discussion, guys? And first up, Russ, let's talk about the trade-offs. Let's say, what are we gaining from saving our wildcard for the later weeks?
Just information, right? Because you're going to get more information between now and Game Week 31 or Game Week 32 on the exact blanks and doubles. And for details on that, you can obviously go to past videos that we've done on chips. But if you wildcard later, you can much better set up the other chips that work in conjunction with your wildcard, right? Because if you wildcard in, let's say, Game Week 32, I think there's 2 windows actually. You can wildcard in 28 and in 32. 28 will be for people who didn't wildcard this week but then regretted it because their still team is not doing that well and they're like, okay, 28 I'll play the wildcard. Or you can play it in 32, which is going to be the most popular. because by then you would know exactly who are the blankers, because you would know the semi-finalists of the FA Cup. You would have a exact idea of game week 33 double, so you can set up your team for a bench boost, so it maximizes your bench boost. You can set up a team for boomeranging the free hit on 34 if that's what you're playing. So it's just a wildcard which will have a lot more value to the other chips. The counter to that is you'll lose out points to people who wildcard now between now and game week 32. So I don't think there's a right answer. It's quite team dependent on what you wanted to do. My personal opinion was there was an opportunity in 24 to 32 with teams like with Bournemouth, Chelsea, Man United. But with Palmer's injury, with the injuries to Bournemouth, or Semenyo leaving and stuff like, or Tavernier leaving, it's just dwindled the list of players that you want to target on 24 that other people can't get to. So therefore, I feel for me, 32 gives me that advantage that you can just set up your team. Because let me tell you another thing, bench boost has the potential to be absolutely disgustingly good this year, because you have so many cheap defenders that DEFCON that if they double and you hit double DEFCON for the bench guys that you're benching, it can be disgustingly great. Like you have someone like Elliot Anderson as your fifth midfielder, double DEFCON 8-pointer. So there is a potential to actually really nail your bench boost if you wildcard a little bit later and closer to that in a double game week. So those are the advantages. If you wait, you get more information. The con to that is maybe you get more information and the information is rubbish, because a lot of the FA Cup teams have drawn against each other and a lot of them are out. There've been a lot of upsets, and so the doubles are quite underwhelming, and in the doubles themselves there's a lot of rotation, and you're like, you know what, I should have just wildcarded earlier. So it works both ways, but what you gain is simply information.
Hello, your thoughts?
Just one other thing is, I was talking to Pras, right, about the state of FPL in the last 7-8 weeks. How have people earned their points and their gains in ranks? It hasn't been Salah versus Haaland versus Foden versus Bruno versus Palmer versus Saka. All of them have been fairly quiet. It's actually been the fringe picks that have sort of got points and rises in ranks for players. So who are you even targeting as the big guys right now in terms of where you want to go? Probably a couple of United midfielders and Enzo Fernandez. I think maybe setting up your team, because we don't have like conclusive evidence. That's actually a pro and a con for the wildcard, where the template is shaky. There isn't genuinely a template at the moment. So you punt on these 6-7 guys that you have identified that nobody else likes, that you go. Especially if you're in a position like me or Pras, where you're lagging behind and want to gain rank quickly. But it works for people like Pras and me who are lagging behind and not wildcarding also, because nobody's really putting their hand up. Like there isn't 5-6 strong FPL picks that are putting their hand up, which is where it makes you desperate to wildcard as well. And that's a pro and con to both sides, but that's just the point where it's sort of like a loose point in the game of FPL at the moment, where there's nothing conclusive. You can take advantage of that waiting or going aggressive.
I agree. And if you guys want to know in terms of the schedule later how it's going to pan out in terms of the blanks and doubles, I highly recommend watching Process video from last week if you haven't already, other than us spending time. There are lots of blanks, doubles that where the wildcard could be potentially more useful.
And a couple of other things about Wildcard 24 that have led to at least my decision not wildcarding is I've been ideally I would have liked to land this week with 3 free transfers. I didn't want to do Foden to Bruno last week. Like it turned out great, but I would have wished that Foden played and I didn't have to get Bruno away to Arsenal and Foden gets a double-digit return. Didn't work out. He was leaked not to start, although I did it anyway the night before. But I've used up that transfer that I've used wildcard to do. I didn't want to take out Keane before my wildcard. I wanted to use the wildcard to take him out after he's played Leeds at home. He got a red card. So there was lots of things that led me to using these transfers. Now I'm reaching 24 with 0 or 1 free transfer. So if the other people are in a different spot where they're on 4-5 free transfers and they can actually be aggressive with this game week 24 wildcard, where they don't have to actually set up a team for the long term. They can go for short term picks, like maybe they can go for a Semenyo, or they can even punt on picks from Chelsea because they think that there's an opportunity in that. Fair enough. Like it's very team dependent on how aggressive you be. But I get this question a lot, so I should address this. Because your rank is not great, why are you not chasing it now, right? So the answer is simple, that you can only decide which path gets you most points, right? And you can also decide which path can get you, if you're luckier, more points. I feel if you're luckier in game week 32 wildcard, and look, if you're still chasing by 32, and we will be, then it will not be the template. We will try to go a little bit different. If you get lucky and you nail a double game week bench boost, like I'm telling you now, game week 33 bench boost is going to be a 150 plus point week because there'll be 15 starters with double game weeks. You get lucky that week, you make 50 points on people. You get lucky this week, what? Chalaba gets DEFCON and clean sheet? So I'm not seeing that opportunity that if you're lucky between 24 and 32, like real lucky, you'll gain 50 points. If you're real lucky from 32 to 38 with 3 doubles and 1 blank, 1 free hit to play, there's a potential to get luckier. So that's the thinking. But I completely understand. I was the one who started this whole thing that we should probably wildcard in 24 because teams will look similar in 32. I get all of that. So, but if I don't see the opportunity today, I'm not going to force wildcard because I'm chasing. That doesn't make sense to me.
Just a question: if at all Chelsea wins against Arsenal next weekend, they can have a double game week where the same spot Arsenal were expected to have a double.
Assuming
game
they
week?
beat Napoli on Wednesday. Otherwise, they can't.
There is also the case where you maybe wait a week or two if you don't have any Chelsea players, gain information, because that also coincides with what we will find out about Crystal Palace, right? And because the Game Week 26 onwards, their run really starts where they've got Burnley, Wolves, and Leeds in a period of 5 weeks. That's a slight wildcard window there also. If you just wait for 2 more weeks, want to be
Just
aggressive
before
as
the
well.
FA Cup 4th round, man. Like, I get it, but
I'm just saying that people who are asking us in terms of what you're lacking,
you can still do it later, of course.
Exactly. There might be an opportunity.
I was going to say you can even do 28, for example, as a secondary backup wildcard window. It would be after the FA Cup round 4, so you'd have full information. It would be before round 5, but still, the benefit is from game week 28, there's another fixture swing for teams like Liverpool, for Brentford, we talked about. So you can get these teams actually for long term and set it up that way if you prefer that. And of course, you can get out of your Chelseas if you had some Chelsea. So there is a little swing in 28 if you wanted to target that as a secondary window.
Exactly.
The Game Week 25 point is an interesting one I do want to mention, though. For example, in my team now, I'm looking to potentially bring in Boomo by downgrading Saka to Rice. Now, Arsenal do have that confirmed double in 26. I'm not so keen on selling Saka. But now if Arsenal don't have that double, I'm not even sure I'll buy an Arsenal attacker. I might just decide to go Semenyo instead. So if you're looking to sell maybe somebody like a Saka or bring in somebody like a Boomo this week to fund through that way, I think you gain something by watching this week. You get completely clear doubles information by 25. You get to watch Manchester United another week, maybe against more of a traditional deep block, which they're going to be facing the next few weeks. So there is also some merit in keeping your powder dry to a certain extent this week for a much more clearer picture in 25.
Also, what happens is, let's say Chelsea do have a double, or even if they don't have a double and Arsenal doesn't have a double, can you see yourself, if there's stability at Crystal Palace, can you see yourself doing something like a Timber to Munoz in 26? Because Timber's fixtures are going to read Brentford away, Spurs away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away. And then Munoz has those really, really good home fixtures as well, right? There are a few opportunities just a couple of weeks down the road, and like Pras in 28 as well. So that there are merits to other windows too.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't write Newcastle off as well. We'll have Newcastle fans telling us off in the comments. They could beat Man City as well. So again, you have clarity on that.
So Newcastle could also have a double if they beat PSG this on Wednesday and they beat Man City. Then they could have a double themselves in 26. So lots of information to learn on Wednesday, and most importantly, we should really get an announcement for these provisional doubles by Friday, actually, this Friday. So we'll cover it in the team selections on implications, and if there is an announcement or if there is not an announcement, either way, we'll cover it in a lot more detail in terms of what do we now know in terms of the future.
Let's start talking about some picks now, boys. Let's get a like and subscribe plug, please, Pras.
Yes, so if you have enjoyed what you're listening to so far, or you enjoy on a regular basis, but you've just simply forgotten, then please hit the like button because it really helps us out. I mean, it's been really nice this season. I think the like ratio has gone up. So thank you for those that have been doing it, and those who haven't, I mean, please consider doing it. So we'd really appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you can. As you guys know, it's been a theme that We'll do a meetup somewhere. We'll see where that is, but we'll do a meetup if we hit 50,000 subs, and we hope to get there soon. So a lot of you listening now at this point of the season, you're our regulars, right? So I know you guys are already subbed, but there are a few that listen to us but don't subscribe. So consider doing that.
So I've got up a list here of players we should potentially be considering for the wildcard. I haven't put Jose Sa in there, as pointed out by the Discord. Probably he needs to be included. I was bullied into adding Lemens and Maguire by my two pod partners over here. But we'll talk about all these picks. Now, some of them are good picks, some are medium picks, some are bad picks. But I think these are all picks that we should at least talk about. Some talk about more, some talk about a little bit less. Let's start first up with the goalkeepers, Pras, your favorite topic.
Guys, I should have. I will have Raya if I wildcard in 24, and there is zero doubt in my mind. I can debate it with anybody, whoever you want. Unfortunately, my rank doesn't justify me. People will just go back. See, you have Raya. What has happened to you? But I honestly, there are two reasons. I'm going to repeat it. Number one, you can hide him in game week 31, so you don't have to use a transfer, right? You just coming out of game week 31 blank in 32 again. You have triple Arsenal if that's something you want to do. So that's the advantage of having Raya. You just play Dubravka or whoever your other keeper is in 31 blank. Second advantage is, ultimately, this is a perfect week to explain. And actually, I'm sorry for Timber owners. They almost scored, right? So it's not me saying, oh, Timber is a bad pick. All I'm trying to say is explaining where having Raya plus an Anderson has got more points than having any other keeper and Timber. Because you can still have a DEFCON defender that plays alongside. And when you play Timber, you're losing on that. So don't play him. Like I'm telling nobody to have him, but I just think there are benefits to having Raya. If you don't like it, play Timber, man. Like Timber is absolutely fine.
Fair shout. The Anderson point I do appreciate in terms of the regular DEFCON guy.
Yep. And an assist this week too.
He's got that in his locker. Always very good in terms of passing and through balls right from his Palace.
And you can rotate that spot, right? 1 week it's Anderson, sometimes it's Collins, sometimes it's Tarkowski, or it was Keane. They're these cheap 4.5 guys that are now countering that save-making 4.5 keeper, is what my point is.
Absolutely. And there's a very nice rotation I found with Anderson, Richards, and Senesi. We'll talk about later. I think Pras also
the three OG DEFCON dudes.
3 OG DEFCON dudes. We had them all on game week 1.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of goalkeepers for me, I think there are two options now for cheapies. Darlow has started playing a little bit for Leeds, but I just like Dubravka, man. 5 points this week after conceding 2 goals. It's incredible. I think it's just pretty much set and forget for that 4.0 now. We don't know how the doubles and stuff will land, but I think he has a confirmed fixture in 31 either way, right, Pras?
Yeah, 31 Burnley will definitely play. And he should very, very, very likely have a double in 33 as well, Dubravka. So don't get tempted by Darlow on your wildcard. Get Dubravka.
That's a cheapie sorted. In terms of the goalkeeper picks, I think Rhea, I can understand the appeal in that sense, but if you want to go away from that, I think Bob Sanchez is the top pick for me.
Yeah, I was worried about his first choice status, but once you assured me, he's the standout amongst keepers for me as well.
The other option that people do, I think Martinez, people are talking about now, but Villa, I just don't trust consistently. And with Martinez, randomly you'll see him miss out. The game, he just won't feature in the warm-up. He'll have clangers. This seems a bit risky in that sense. Pickford, I think you go for Tarkowski if you fancy that. 5.5 does seem a lot. What?
Just on Martinez also, losing Tielemans and Kamara is pretty big, in my opinion, for us to immediately trust that defense. Yes, they're going to sign Douglas Luiz on loan, but you want to see how they look defensively before trusting them, because they're two, and McGinn for a while as well. These are 3 first-choice players in that Aston Villa team. I don't know how it's going to affect them defensively.
And Douglas Luiz also is not the same player in terms of form and fitness that we saw a few years ago. I don't even know if he'll stay fit for the remainder of the season.
Agreed.
In terms of cheapies, if you want to go cheap, anybody besides Bart?
The Brentford keeper, Kelleher. I just think he's done well in terms of offensive potential, save, defensive potential, gets saves in some games as well. And in 2-3 weeks away from a decent run of fixtures as well. So Kelleher is somebody I'd probably look at if you're going for cheap.
Who do Brentford play in 34? 1 second. I'm just trying to see Kelleher's double potential. Brentford play Man United. So Brentford are in the FA Cup. So if they make it to the semi-final, then he'll double. The thing is, at this point, you need to also be thinking about a bench boost in 33, right? If you're wildcarding today. So ideally, if you're 50-50 on a defender or 33 or a keeper, like try to get two keepers that could double.
But how do you balance the Sa and Dubravka thing then? Plus, Sa, I forgot to mention over here again, as a cheaper goalkeeper, he's a very popular option for the wildcarders as well.
So Sa and Sanchez, I like because in the short term, like I said, right, you'll get a doubling keeper in 26 and you'll get a keeper in, because either Chelsea will qualify or Arsenal will qualify. If Arsenal qualify, then Sa will have a double for the final, or if Chelsea qualify, then Chelsea will have a double. So that's why Sanchez and Sa work. But for that, then you're not thinking of 33 as such. Raya and Dubravka are very likely to have a double in 33 as well.
What about the fixtures now when Chelsea have the tougher games? Does Sa actually have decent fixtures in those weeks? I just want to look.
You'll play the Chelsea keeper always, man. You're only playing Sa in the.
Sa's data is a bit all right, because 28, 29, 30 is when Chelsea's fixtures are a little bit dodgy. I just want to see what Wolves have. They have Villa, Liverpool, and Brentford. So you're not using Sa in
any never week, play Sa apart from the double.
Apart from 26, which the double isn't even confirmed as of now. We should say it's an absolute shot in the dark. If we get some sort of provisional announcement on Friday, then maybe yes. Sa's stock rises up a little bit, I think. Anything more on goalkeepers, guys? Move on to defense.
Nope.
I think Gabriel, Timber, or you go with the whole Raya combination, two Arsenal defenders or defensive assets rather. The lock, I think.
Yeah, because you have to presume at this stage that they might hit the double, just going by odds. So you have to have two of Raya, Timber, Gabriel in your team.
Now then the Chalobah and Munoz spot I think is a little bit interesting. Now with Palace's performance, I didn't necessarily see a team that weren't playing for their manager. I thought they were pretty all right. If Mateta buries that chance early on, game state could have been a little bit different. But there is obviously the absence of Gehi that does make a difference to that team. We do expect the clean sheets to reduce a little bit in that sense. But I think Munoz is still an all right pick. You have to balance that out with a game week 31 blank potentially. And even with Chalobah, I don't think his minutes are as secure as we'd like to think they are. He could easily miss a game at home to Leeds or away to Wolves in the space of this busy schedule. But I think one of Chalobah or Sanchez in a wild card is almost certain. You guys agree?
I agree.
Can pick that across as we need.
Yeah, about the Palace defense also, right? Like even this week, the mistakes that came from Gehi's replacement, Canvo. Like he's a young defender, but
I mean,
yeah,
the
but like
penalty was absolutely shocking. I mean, don't get me started on that. Even as a fan, what is that dude supposed to do, man? Is the ball goes off his body to his hand and you give a penalty? I mean,
see, now you'll get tons of. I was trying to avoid this. Now you'll get tons of comments on denying goal scoring opportunity, accidental, and all of that. But Dale Johnson commented that it's not a pen.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the guy who was the referee in the City Wolves game. Kudos for just sticking by what he saw, and I thought it was the right decision.
It's so poor from Pep, man. He said the referee did it to make a name for himself. His first game, now everybody knows his name. Very, very, very poor from Pep. Lost a lot of respect for him over there. I mean, Fergie went after referees, but I guarantee you that's nothing Fergie would have never done. Moving on, I think the other guys.
Don't compare Fergie with Guardiola.
I know, but I'm just talking about how generally, like, managers would like to get the advantage by sort of like, doing the influencing.
It was classless. That's the issue. And you think like Pep has class, so it was surprising actually to see that comment as well.
Yeah. Even Mourinho, I don't think he would have attacked the referee in that way. Very poor.
Please, Mourinho is attacking Carrick, man. Leave Mourinho out of this.
Was it Carrick or was it Arbeloa? Or was it Rosinia?
Comment.
It applies to all three. It applies to all three. I think the thing with Madrid,
it was a general
you always
remark,
have this thing with vitriol against Madrid as well, right? So I thought it was more towards Arbeloa. Anyway, we digress. Moving on.
Yeah.
The other guys we're talking about, the cheapies. Again, this depends on how you set up your rotation. Starkowski, he's still all right, I think, as a set and forget. I don't mind him. We're talking about the cheapest guys, Richard, Senesi, and Anderson. All are good picks. You can set them up in the rotation as you need.
But I do want to say though at that price bracket, I would skip Tarkowski now on Wildcard.
I agree.
Like I think he occupies too much money, and there are better, cheaper defenders if you're looking for DEFCON guys, and at the same price there are more attacking defenders. So I wouldn't go Tako on Wildcard now.
Absolutely. In terms of Richard, Senesi, and Anderson, if you guys had to pick two, which two would it be?
Richards and Anderson, because Hill is an option.
And also with Bournemouth, we like the DEFCON etc. for Senesi, but they can't keep a clean sheet, man. He hasn't got over
Yeah.
something like 4 to 6 points in ages. The last clean sheet was against Chelsea at home.
Yeah, but we apply that argument to Dubravka, but not to those guys. Like, it's okay. Like, even if they don't keep a clean sheet, they get 3-4 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the replacement cost at the same price it's not exactly the same fair apple to apple comparison, I think.
Yeah. Also, just one thing about Senesi, I'm worried that the window ends on Sunday. If there is a good to a half decent offer for somebody like him, I would worry.
Oh man, don't say that. I want to buy him.
I'm just saying, I would worry. Like he's still on the market, and there's a lot of people who are struggling in defense, who need a centre back, and he's ready-made sitting there. Like Chelsea has still haven't made their move. Liverpool could be in for a centre back. Like it just is a little bit of a worry for me.
You know the thing about Senesi and his WAG, right? They're the whole new it couple after the whole Douglas Luiz and Alicia Lehman thing. So I think he's apparently been asking for a move abroad. He
How
wants
do
to
you know
move
all
on the
this stuff,
continent.
man?
The Daily Mail, bro. I mean, I like to read shit when I'm taking a shit, so that's when I read the Daily Mail. So I think he wants to move on the continent, and of the two players who are running down their contracts of Wilson and Senesi, I still think Wilson is the one more likely to move.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Senesi will stick around, but I agree in that sense. I think Anderson and Richards would prefer. Their teams are still back for clean sheets in that sense.
Yep.
Then we are talking about, I think Gehi we already discussed. I still like him as a set and forget long-term pick. You never have to worry about minutes now with Gehi.
Yeah, good pick.
Very consistent. The cheaper ones is also where it's a little bit interesting now. You have your Mukiele, Hill, Reinaldo. I think Mukiele is still clear, man, amongst these guys.
I agree.
But he's not cheap anymore, right? He's actually the same price as your Andersons and all now.
And then the question is, then do you buy like a 4.3 million Wolves defender at that same price who might get a double in 2 weeks? Like what's your thought process there? And this is specifically a debate we're having for Wildcard.
I know he's in your draft, but you see, with a cheap striker, with the Mane, we're operating in a place where other people have a dead spot, right? So you're not really losing much if you go for a Mane. If you go for a Wolves defender, it's like you're losing out on a very good rotation where you can actually play that player. Apart from just 26, you can genuinely play them in many other games. I would go for a Sunderland guy, if that's the
Wolves
case.
have the second best XGC in the league in the last 6 games. The defense numbers are improving.
That's just because they haven't played good teams in the last 6.
No, man.
Actually, they played City, didn't they?
Yeah. And they were very good against Arsenal as well. Like defensively, they've done well. They're not conceding too many chances.
They've all played the top sides. Pras was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But the other guys you mentioned,
I think that's a shout.
I think that's a shout. But again, if you want to go sub 4 million, we also had Goodmanson for Leeds, who was an option. I think he picked up some sort of injury over there, so he's out anymore. I think you don't want to go for Rodon anymore. Doesn't feel as appealing. So who's a cheapie if you guys have to go for who's around 4 and below? Alderete is also in there as much, but is not getting the DEFCON as consistently.
He was a 9. I don't mind him, to be honest. Like if you wanted Alderete, or go Maguire.
How much is he?
4.5.
No, 4.3.
That's cheap, man. The one thing about Maguire...
RIP Dorgu, man. What a pick. And unfortunately gets injured for 10 weeks. He's in this list, so please, if you're listening and you haven't checked the news, he's no longer a pick, unfortunately.
He's out for 10 weeks, man. Like I was just telling Pras, like that's my most potent differential because not everybody was going to go there because of minutes doubt, etc. Just dead in a second.
I feel for the kid, man. He always comes off as a try and as a neutral. I was happy for him. I will say that.
Yeah. And like, have you seen his TikTok stuff? Like last week only posted a video. Yeah, but like there's a video, if you see it on Twitter as well, where he keeps posting about his ball striking, like training that he does outside, and he's got that banger shot on him. And so like for those that have seen that, the goal wasn't as much of a surprise.
It's funny you said ball striking because the show I recommended, Sunny Days, it's a brother-sister thing, right? So every time the brother does something wrong, she flicks his balls and the guys watching be like, oh, that's not appropriate.
Yeah. So on a more serious note though, for those looking at Maguire, I just want to say I'm a little worried because Dillit is back in about a week. Last week, Carrick said that Dillit is 2 weeks away. And now we just have 2 centre-backs that can play in this setup that Carrick has. So a little bit worried about the minutes. That's all I'll say.
Anything else in defense?
Outside shout, now that Dorgu's dead for 10 weeks, Luke Shaw's 4.5 million.
But as we were talking about that position could be a bit in flux now, right? You could potentially...
Maz could play, Dallo could play the other side.
Yeah,
Once
that's
you need
also
a more
good. Yeah,
attacking fullback is when Shaw's minutes might start suffering a little bit.
fair shot. Fair shot. Yeah. And he doesn't have that attacking potential anymore. Like he can't keep running back and forth, back and forth. So yeah.
Exactly. So let's move. I think I would put Matty Cash in there also. He has the only one from the Villa, I think, team you can look at who has some attacking threat. But in terms of DEFCON, I just don't feel comfortable going. And the defensive stats are actually quite poor with Villa. But Villa,
Yeah.
everything, both ends of the pitch, the stats, they just keep defying.
Yeah. But like I'll just say that whatever the
Let me
numbers
show
are,
you
like
guys.
being 4 points behind the league leaders, they will play the league games differently. Like they'll fight for everything that is needed to be fight for. There's a different kind of motivation if you see you're 4 points behind the league leaders.
Cash is a low-key good shout, actually. Because again, with going by the logic, he'll play in 31. He could have very well have a double in 33. So yeah, actually that's a good shout. Konza, of course, 4.4.
We have to mention Konza. But thing with Cash also,
Defcon killed him, man. I'm so unhappy
Defcon
with
killed him.
Defcon just
There's
because
so
of
many
that.
players, when we had the whole DEFCON rant earlier, certain players just get moved out of the player pool because of lack of DEFCON. But something I wanted to mention about Kamara and Cash, they always have this relationship I've seen over the last few years. Whenever Cash is advanced, Kamara used to tuck in and cover for him in the centre back position. I think that's going to take away from Cash's attacking threat a little bit. Something interesting over I want to share with you guys over here. Look at the open play goal attempts conceded on the last. Now you see it's like petering out at 63, 64, 70. You see where Burnley go, 103. They've at least conceded 30 more open play goal attempts than the next worst, who are Villa. Look at Villa. Villa are the 19th for open play goal attempts
70.
conceded.
Okay.
And then Burnley straight 103. So again, we're talking in terms of fixtures to target. Burnley is clearly the fixture this year. At least for
Bro,
the
we had a
remainder of the
KTK for
season.
Burnley, man. Where was he? Where was Saboslai? Anyway, forget it. Let me not complain.
Anything else on defense?
A couple of people in the chat have shouted out Forest defense. Last week also I mentioned that they've done well, and now Sangare is back. They do well when Sangare is back, and they're top 5, top 6 currently. Last 6 they're sitting 8th for XG. Their fixtures are not too bad. Anyone interested? Because I was looking at the fixtures. It's Palace home, Leeds away, Wolves home, Liverpool, Brighton, City, Fulham, Spurs. They've got 4 or 5 of those clean sheet fixtures, and their defenders have DEFCON potential as well. I think 3 of their defenders DEFCONed this weekend as well.
I think we just
Mourinho has DEFCONed in the last 4 consecutive games, 5 out of the last 6 games. He's back. The old Mourinho.
They are playing how they played under Nuno last year.
Exactly. So just an outside shot. Yeah, we probably shouldn't ignore Forest.
Good shot.
Not been
Good
given.
shot.
Yeah.
Probably should have been in here. I put Cells in here. I forgot to put any other defenders.
Yeah.
Anything else in defense? Move on to midfielders.
Midfielder.
I think Bruno
One
Fernandes.
essential pick in the whole of FPL.
I think Bruno is absolutely the most essential
Which is the best midfield pick, Zoph, do you think? Like out of all picks in midfield? Come on, say it.
Bruno Fernandes, buddy. I will. I only speak facts.
No, just teasing. I know you've got more points out of him than
From the
anyone
three
else.
of us.
The 3 of us. Yeah, exactly.
Because I got the pen misses as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bruno is in there. The double United midfield also now we are talking about, because the minutes now, the whole equation changes a little bit with Dorgo and Pras. You wanted to comment a little bit on this.
On which one, sorry?
Bumo's minutes and how the general minutes across the front for United.
I just think it's a Man United dynamics, right? What's happening is Bumo's playing up top actually, and he's been subbed off in the 60 to 70th minute. So on Sunday evening when I was debating the transfer, should I get him? I was like, you know what? If Dorgu keeps playing, Cunha played well, Sesko comes on, is Mbumo going to keep getting the 70th minute subs? But with Dorgu now out, what could happen is that Cunha starts the game, and when Sesko comes on, it's actually he comes on for Cunha instead. So it makes Mbumo like a 90 minutes man, of which 30 to 70 minutes will be played up top. So actually it benefits him in that way. Of course it benefits Cunha because now he'll probably start, but it benefits Mbumo a lot in terms of his expected minutes. So that 70 minute sub threat is almost completely vanished. With the caveat, we have actually not seen Carrick play a team where Man United will have more of the ball. This is the main thing.
There's still only 3 or 4 from Cunha. Sorry, I was just asking. It's still 3 from 4 from Cunha, Sesko, Ahmad, and Mbumo though, right?
Yes.
So how will that work out? Will Ahmad not play most games, or will Ahmad play fullback?
Ahmad will play most games. Sesko may not play, and Cunha may not play. So between them,
I don't know, right? Because if Boomer's playing right wing and he does play Sesko as centre forward and Cunha, then there's a chance Ahmad can also not play, right? So we just don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
have no idea what Carrick is thinking at the moment. So there's just learning to be done this weekend with United.
Enough's Ahmad though, right? Ahmad is not even getting subbed off.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but like he's also the kind of guy that is looking at skill set and what will we require. Does he require a pacey guy? Ahmad is capable of beating his player as well. I have no idea what he's thinking.
Actually, Ahmad was subbed off. 87th minute though. 87.
And as we mentioned last pod with Boomer, we're not worried about his starts, but we don't want a Gordon-like situation where the clock, as soon as it hits 65, 70, you're expecting him to be subbed off.
The only difference is Boomer finishes dinner when he gets his chances.
Absolutely.
As he's way more lethal.
And you can spin
But a
that other
blank-
way. Go ahead, Pras.
Yeah. No, a blank where a player played 90 minutes hurts a lot less than a blank where your player played 63 minutes. Because you're like, not only did he blank, he didn't even get a chance to actually do the whole thing.
Absolutely
fair.
right. And what I'm hoping is
But like
maybe... Go ahead.
in the 2 games, he's got the highest shot volume though. Like he's hit 5 or 6 shots in 138 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and half of them are big chances.
But
So he
that's
does
a
get,
function
like,
of the role that he's playing at the
role.
center forward.
Exactly.
So what I was mentioning, the thing is now with Bumo is now you could have Sesko also who gets subbed off. And let's say Bumo starts on the right, then the last few minutes of games, he goes to center forward with Ahmad coming
So he'll
on
get
the
30
right.
to 70 minutes up top in a lot of games.
I think you can spin that both ways. On a wild card, I think I would take the punt. I would get Bumo.
Yeah. Like the downside isn't very high. And like there are many outside that price as well, right? If you want to go.
On the transfer, I think you can afford maybe to give it 1 week, especially if you need to downgrade or sell your Arsenal midfielder to make room for that. I think it's easier to sell a Palmer in that sense. But Bumo, I would like to still, maybe if you're buying, I'm still okay with waiting 1 more week potentially. Because Fulham are still, or as LR mentioned, are still very astute side in terms of defense.
Yep.
You guys agree? In terms of transfer priority, is Enzo or Bumo, which is a bigger priority transfer in this week?
Actually, if you're talking about that price bracket, I actually think Semenyo is the best option now. Genuinely, I really like him as a pick in terms of what they offer, etc. as well. Boomer is a good pick. Enzo just has the best fixtures the next 4 and has 50% pension. So I'm debating in my head as we're talking. I think I would prioritize Enzo Fernandez now with what has happened in the last 6-7 days in terms of fitness, etc.
Yes, I think I would agree in terms of what we know and how we expect Palmer's game time to go. Now we expect Palmer to potentially, and again, full guessing, but play Napoli, then again miss out in the weekend fixture, then again play Arsenal, then again miss out in the weekend fixture, and then play in the midweek fixture after. You're potentially maybe getting pen share for Enzo in 2 out of the next 4 games. Maybe getting some set pieces of James as well, and it's a price at 6.7. You need the entry in terms of the upside fixtures. No team has better fixtures in the next 4 than Chelsea.
Yeah. And like Pras mentioned, right? Like tricky wingers in games when they have more possession, Enzo becomes better.
Pras, do you have any clear thoughts on this of the 2 to buy this week?
My thoughts will be clearer after Chelsea's Napoli game. Like to see how many minutes does Enzo play, Palmer play. I mean, of course, Enzo might play 90 minutes anyway, but how stressful is that game? So there are factors beyond just, I mean, it's hard for me to say now. But on Friday, I probably have an opinion. The other thing is, we've been here before with Man United, right? We get excited after 2 games. Then you double up, you triple up, and then they lose 1-0. And then you're like, oh no, I have 2 Man United players in my team. So I hope not, of course I hope not. But there is a tendency to overcorrect very quickly when Man United starts to do well. Prices start shooting up, so there's a FOMO behind it. So I understand if you go Enzo first and then Mbumo.
I think we're in agreement in terms of transfers, but in terms of a wild card, I think these 3 guys should potentially be the first few names. Apart from that, maybe then you're potentially getting 1 or 2, probably just 1 Arsenal midfielder. And then Rogers also somebody we need to talk about, man, because Villa, very impressive against Newcastle. And he's getting DEFCON now. First game, may continue, we don't know what the role, maybe the absence of these midfield guys is giving him a bit more opportunity in terms of recoveries. Because his DEFCONs were not in terms of tackles or blocks, so mostly in terms of recoveries, which I found interesting.
But I'm still worried a little bit about Villa now because I think Tielemans, McGinn, Kamara, all big losses. wonder if that as an attack sort of diminishes them as well. So, TBD when it comes to us. Rogers
So
also.
Luis is confirmed now,
Yes.
but we don't know how fit he is.
Exactly. And like we were presuming that Rogers could have the pen. I think he's got pens anyway because he's just a good striker of the ball.
I think Luis will take them.
I'm worrying that Lewis is there.
But again, like we mentioned, Luis, I don't think he's going to stay fit till the end of the season. But the fixtures now for Villa, man, the run is absolutely incredible. Now, a lot of teams have 3 home fixtures in the next 4. Villa and Chelsea are the 2 teams, obviously. Villa's fixtures are Brentford at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away, Chelsea is at home, Manchester United, which is away, and then West Ham at home. And 31 is again a tilting factor for many of us. We need good players for that week. He has West Ham at home.
Yeah.
Villa will be the best cap. I mean, people will do Haaland to Watkins, or Rogers will be best cap in 31. So people need to keep that in mind.
I'm looking at the best fixtures in 31 in terms of the Blues over here. Villa have it, Arsenal have Wolves, but again, they might have the blank that week. Fulham have Burnley. Who are you going to captain? If Harry Wilson is still around at Fulham, he's an option over there. Newcastle have Sunderland.
I'm not captaining Wilson over Watkins or Rogers.
Absolutely. Forest have Tottenham, then you probably captain a Forest player. Not really much else over there. But he's interesting. Definitely somebody I would like to include over here.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we already spoken about Palmer. Not much to talk about over there. Saka Rice is an interesting one now for wildcarders, especially. Again, we've spoken about Saka not justifying his price, but if they do get the double, will be okay going without Saka, Pras?
See, it keeps coming. I keep coming back to, I feel Saka will be the best differential captain in 26. And I have seen the numbers. He's not doing well, but the potential is there for a penalty taker in a double game week, in a team, in a fixture double that includes Wolves, that you hit that jackpot, right? So only for that reason, if there is a provisional announcement on Friday, I would be tempted to have Saka in the team. If there's no provisional announcement, no chance. I don't think Saka's the value this season that, the Arsenal attack, there was this stat that Sky was showing in terms of open play goals, or they had all their forwards and they were like, these guys don't have a non-penalty goal for 12 games. Saka doesn't have a goal across all competitions for 7 games, something like that. So the attack is not there. I can even make an argument for going triple defense on Wildcard if there's no provisional announcement. Just with a provisional announcement, it's at the back of my head that everybody's going to default to Gabriel captain. And we are talking about chasing, right? Saka could be a really, really good chasing captain.
Like one way to do that also, if you're on wildcard, is leave the third spot open. Like, don't need to commit. There's enough decent picks when you're looking at this list of midfielders. There's enough picks that we can go commit to right now, and then see if we want to go Saka or Rice in 26 if they have a double. Like that's an option too.
So the problem is you have to be really stingy with your transfers now, because while wildcarding now, you're behind those guys in 31. You need that transfer to get that doubler in 33. Like every transfer has to have that consideration.
Also, it's very difficult to build a structure where you can get in Saka purely because his price being so obstructive. In that sense, you're going to have to lose a very good player. And that being said, now if you want to get Saka in, you can't get Bruno, Bumo, Enzo and Rogers, and let's say get even a good forward. You'd probably have to tank them, the third forward spot, which I don't think is worth it because there are players that will emerge. We're talking about Thiago becoming a potential must-have from 26. And that's and so
differentials like Watkins,
27.
No, Thiago becomes from 27. This is a difference. So for my team, for example, I'm not looking to get Thiago because after 26, the double move I'm planning is Saka to, let's say, Wilson or Sade, and then my dead spot striker to Thiago. So I don't intend to have Saka long term. But like I made my point, right?
I got your point. You can segue out that Saka money and get the forward from 27. That's and so you can afford to
change your
that
structure a little bit, because you don't need a dead spot ahead of blank game week 31. You actually need all your spots.
So then Saka versus Rice genuinely comes down to, if you're on wildcard, you presume where you're going to be captaining. Are you comfortable captaining Gabriel, or do you want to chase with somebody like Saka as a captaincy option? And I think if you've set on Gabriel captain, then I think you can probably go Rice. But if you want to chase with a Saka differential captaincy, then set up a structure in such a way that you go Saka and then make the moves in 27. Is that the thinking that we are sort of aligning on?
I'm personally of the board that you just get Rice. It's not unfathomable to me that Rice outscores Saka in the double, and just such other good midfield picks. And in terms of structure, right now, let's say if Palmer was somehow in our thoughts, then you say I want to keep that structure. Maybe I could potentially move to Palmer, or maybe I get Palmer in now and move him to Saka a little bit later. Now you don't need necessarily that 10 million spot in midfield in terms of structure. You're better off spreading it. Let's say you can get Bruno, Bumo, Enzo, Rogers, Rice. Then you can get your Haaland, Thiago, or Evanilson. You can get Krupi and a decent defense. It feels a much better structure to me.
Yeah. It enables a Semenyo also, who's not very cheap. I think he's a very, very good pick at that price as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything other than the cheapy mids, if you guys do want to look at, I think there's Endai, Sar, Anderson. I think Semenyo obviously is not the cheapy. Wilson is an interesting one. I want to talk about Harry Wilson in terms of the fixtures over the next 4. Now, we talk about Fulham being a team who's quite lopsided in terms of home and away form, right? They just had a run where they had a lot of home games. Now they have 3 of their next 4 away. And those away games are Manchester United, Man City, and Sunderland. The home game is Everton, which is, of course, a decent fixture. Is Harry Wilson a buy now on Wildcard? And let's make the assumption that he does stay at Fulham over the transfer window. They've signed Oscar Bob recently, who might give them some sort of more leverage to sell Wilson in the window. In that sense, they can replace him because you got Chucky back now. You have other players who could play there. But all these teams generally are better at home. Manchester United, Man City, and Sunderland, they also are decent defensively now on their own patch. Would you be buying Wilson on a wild card now, Pras?
He's one of those that fit into the category of depends on your risk appetite, right? He's now well owned. So you can take, it's actually a similar discussion to Thiago. You probably want him after 27.
28, the fixtures are absolutely brilliant.
Exactly. So the question is, do you just say, you know what, I'll just keep him. Maybe you have some value tied up. So I can understand if I see him on a wildcard draft. But on the flip side, yeah, these next 3, you can take him on. So maybe you should try taking him on if you're on wildcard. So both sides work, and I understand both sides.
LR,
because the opportunities there with there's the opportunities there with Endai and Sar, who are pretty good picks in their own right. And Endai on the left is more of a goal scorer as well, in my opinion, because he comes into his more natural right foot for the shot that he wants to take as well, and his own penalties as well. And then you talk about fixtures 27 onwards being really good for him, but then is Shada the better pick around that time? So there is, like Pras said, there is appetite question there. And at the moment, with the fixtures that you pointed, I'm leaning towards going differential and going against Wilson.
I'm in agreement with you guys. Again, if the value is built up there, obviously don't sell him. But let's say you're buying him fresh for the first time on wildcard, I would look elsewhere. Come back to it around 28.
But if on wildcard, I'd just be tempted to not go cheap. Like I'd go Saka down to Rice and then get an 8 million midfielder instead of a 5.5, 6 million midfielder.
Completely. I mean, Anderson, obviously, like Pras mentioned, the appeal comes on later. He has a solid base of points of 4 to 5. But again, somebody like a KDH, wouldn't look at it. I think you have good midfielders around the 6 million bracket. You look to invest money over there.
Anderson's next 3 are really good, by the way. Like, he's very, very playable. I mean, he's playable pretty much any fixture, but next 3 are particularly good.
Also, just he gets a little more license to go ahead when Sangar is next to him as well.
Absolutely. That's a good point. And the thing in general, in terms of a formation setup also, I've been rocking a back 4. I'm actually thinking of switching up formation because I'm seeing the upside defenders are just drying up a little bit now. I'm not liking Munoz as much. I don't think he's as much of an auto pick for me as he was early. And the different rotations that are popping up amongst the cheapies, like we mentioned, your Richards, Andersons, and Senesi, which you can use in the 3rd position. Get maybe an Arsenal guy, maybe a Chalobah, or maybe a Gehi, somebody you can stick in, then rotate to cheaper guys, invest the money in midfield.
Yep.
I think 3-5-2 or maybe somewhat of a hybrid is a formation I would look to set up in general.
The chat is, by the way, saying on... yeah, it's true. With Munoz, I mean, we can have a chat on Munoz for a second, that when you're looking for those upside potential players, right, he's definitely one of those. So especially because you're on wildcard, right? So he has the 4 teams that are fighting for relegation. They have all those 4 teams playing at home in the next 6 or 7. So the potential is there for sure.
Absolutely. Potential is there. But I do like overall, we're talking about in terms of formation. What do you guys think? I think 3-5-2 seems like the way to set up. Or maybe 4-5-1.
4-5-1.
We like 4-5-1.
4-5-1 or 3-5-2 or 4-4-2.
But then you're getting the cheaper mid.
Yeah. But because I don't want to rule out Munoz as a high ceiling option. So then I'll talk about it when I show you guys a draft that I presented. But it's between Munoz and Watkins in terms of the premium extra money spent, in terms of high ceiling differentials that are in the market at the moment.
I get it. I think if you're going, let's say, a Rhea and a Gabriel, then Munoz as your second perma play makes a lot of sense. Obviously, because you're never going to rotate Munoz. You're not going to use him in any sort of rotation. Okay, but let's talk about
you
the
want
Liverpool.
to go, then you go now, because then you'll have to sell him after 28, 29 because he blanks in 31.
Absolutely,
So,
that's a good shot. But this guy is missing for this weekend, right? I think Adam Wharton.
Wharton, yes, he's missing.
That's again, I don't like that against Forest and
But
Brighton away.
Palace are also a little bit of a blind going all in sort of a situation, right? We just every week we're going to ask if Glasner's going to stay, what's the body language looking right. So, yeah.
And with Palace, again, this is a bit of a far out shout. Once they get maybe to the later stages of the Conference League, will they start potentially prioritizing that? I don't think we have to worry about that, I think, till post game week 30, though. It's just something that's been on my mind.
Yeah.
Let's just touch upon the Liverpool mids. Salah.
Can I just say something on
Go ahead.
keepers? I've just seen the news Forest are in for Sa. So that sort of negates everything we said about Sa earlier. But who's the Wolves' other keeper?
Johnston?
How much is he?
He's terrible.
That becomes interesting.
But he's a bad keeper.
How
that's the
bad is
problem.
he? Yeah.
Yeah, but for a double, man, like what were you expecting anyway? But anyway, okay. So whoever's heard the Sa thing and the pro tip on Sanchez and Sa, ignore all this. It's transfer windows open.
Liverpool bids.
Hence my worry with Senesi, Pras. It just takes one bid.
There's been no news, man, about Senesi. I think with Wilson, at least, for example, look at us in a comparison. Silva is still touching upon it. They're trying to keep him. They're signing Bob. I still think that more likelihood there with Bournemouth. There's no links with another centre back. You at least hear some noise of it. We're in 27 January now. There's 5 days left. You'd at least hear some murmurs.
But weren't you all linked to him last week? I read a couple of murmurs around Chelsea.
Our jacket thing is pretty much done.
Okay.
But the problem is that rumors now we might loan Jacquet back for the half of the season as part of the deal.
Yeah.
I don't think Senesi is too old to sign for Chelsea. It's like the DiCaprio thing. He's crossed the age.
Love that. Anyway, let's go strikers.
Don't want to touch upon the Liverpool guys. You guys wanted Salah and Wirtz on there on the list.
I think going Salah now is too much of a shot in the dark. I wouldn't do it.
Agree.
I'd go Haaland.
Agree. Plus, anything to add? Salah, Wirtz, move on to the forwards.
Salah sounds as unreasonable as Haaland sounded in game week 1 when we were picking Salah. So we don't know. But yeah, the sensible answer is it sounds unreasonable. But maybe everybody's doing that move in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I
that's
hope
true.
so.
It's Salah.
I hope so. And of course, we are podding before the Champions League games. The Haaland injury tomorrow. As Roxy says, cats among the pigeons.
Roxy.
No, Roxy didn't say that. The barrister said that. She said it to Roxy.
Harriet said it to Roxy.
Harriet said that, yeah.
I think Roxy said something cat. She didn't say cat among the pigeons. He said cat among something else.
Cat amongst the chickens.
Chickens, exactly.
Steven said that.
Like that,
But I'm always up for dissing Roxy anyway, though.
Moving on forwards. Haaland, obviously, no need to discuss. The cheapies, we've already discussed Krupi Mane at the top. So let's talk about the other second striker spots. It's between Thiago, Joao Pedro, Evanilson, and Watkins, I think, to be fair.
Yeah.
Thiago, obviously, we spoke about 27 is a great entry point. Now, it also matters, I think, how many transfers you have going into this wildcard. If you're sitting on a few transfers, I think you can afford to go short term, right? You can get someone like Evanilson with a view to move him. But if you have only one, then I think just getting Thiago in makes more sense. Go on.
I also don't think the next 2 fixtures for him are bad. Objectively, I think Brentford will do against transition teams. If on wildcard, and if you're aiming to buy him 3 weeks later, buy him now. Because I think Pedro's minutes are sketchy, and I think Evanilson has a little bit of a Firmino quality to him, right? You need to get lucky to catch his good run. He's got like 11.5% conversion rate. He's not been finishing his chances. Thiago's just better. He's still not got the Brazil call up. And like the chances are just still falling to him. The fact that he blanked in the last 2 weeks is an anomaly given the chances he got as well. So I do have a preference in terms of Thiago, but I might not get him, which we'll discuss when I talk to you guys about my team.
With Evanescence, we should also talk about the nature of a few of those goals. I think one was a VVD howler. The other one was, I think, Saliba or Gabriel passed to him.
Yeah. So you just need to find him in a good run. But I've had good history with him, so that's probably what I'll bank on.
Fixtures, it's just pure fixtures, like Pras mentioned earlier on, and Pras knows the Bournemouth fixtures quite well. So it's purely a fixture play. With Evanescence, he still gets the big chances.
He needs to know he's playing every weekend.
Let's rub it out with Watkins. Again, it's the Abraham factor that's worrying me a little bit. He will eat into his minutes a little bit, right? Starts not necessarily, but minutes.
Yeah, probably.
You would think so. Yeah. It's fair. It
great
feels like
differential.
Rodgers is the better pick from the Villa attack. And he's expensive, man.
He's expensive.
But like for the chasers, right, who are on Wildcard, like the two standout differentials are Watkins and Munoz, in my opinion. Like go one of them if you're chasing. Like you could catch lightning in a bottle with either of them in terms of just been there, done that, good pedigree, good players playing for decent teams. Like that, those are differential opportunities that are there.
Who is it, guys, in terms of your second forward? I think I would just go either Evanescence or Thiago, depending on the transfers you have.
Fair enough.
Also, there is also just like a mid price bracket that exists between the Mane, groupie guys and the Pedro Evanilson guys, and I was looking at that because I might have to
That's the DCL
enter that
bracket.
Yeah, the DCL bracket. There's a couple of names that are putting their hand up slowly now. Barry scored like 4 goals in his last 5 games. I don't think that should go unnoticed, and he's playing 80 plus minutes in the last 5 games now. And Everton do have a decent run of fixtures as well. So if you're looking for he's 5.7 million. So if you don't want to go that cheap, but you want a striker that you want to play every week, monitor that situation. And Igor Jesus still has a good run of fixtures, and he's also 5.7 million. So those are just 2 names if you're looking at the mid bracket, where you want somebody who's not as unreliable as Krupi or Mane, but you can't afford your Thiagos. Then those are a couple of names that are on my mind at the moment.
So you had Barry and who else?
Igor Jesus.
It's also
So I'll add one more. Robbery
as well. Yeah, Sunderland.
Yeah. 5.5. 3 goals in last 4.
Robbery. No, we call it Robbery because he tends to hit winners in the last 10 minutes.
Daylight robbery.
Robbery. That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, you wanted to bring Mateta on this list. I wasn't so keen on including him. Why is that? Because of the transfer speculation primarily.
Yeah. So if on Saturday, let's say there's a news that Mateta has decided to stay, right? Only in that circumstance, I think for everything we are saying about Munoz and about Sarr, Mateta on penalties with let's just look at the Palace's fixtures, right? I mean, it is ridiculous. Even Brighton away, we know traditionally Palace love Brighton away because their matchup is great. So Brighton away in 25, Burnley at home, Wolves at home in 26 and 27. And then you have Man United away, Spurs away, Leeds at home. So I think that fixture from 25 to 30 is incredible. Like if you get if they turn it around, I completely understand that team is, running on 3 wheels. But there is a scenario in which they all decide to stay, and therefore I'm only talking about a scenario in which, Mateta is staying. Then why not? Like Mateta is a great pick.
Agree.
Put Ekitike in there, but again, we'd mentioned earlier on, because of the potential minutes management that will happen at some point, they progress to the later rounds. It's not a good long-term pick.
Yep.
You much rather go Watkins in that bracket. Let's now start discussing the actual drafts, boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for you guys, we are not on Wildcard as things stand, but we wanted to make sure that we're giving as much information to everybody out there that's wildcarding or considering a wildcarder is on the fence. So we hope that this podcast helped you guys. And if you did, just we'd appreciate a little like and subscribe. That's about it.
Right at the end, guys, we'll again mention few of the picks to target, the top 3 guys to target for the non-wildcarders. But I think this discussion will sort of segue into that. You can see which of the picks are in our Venn diagram of overlapping guys. Plus, this is your wildcard draft. Why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah. So I'll start with the midfield because that's going to be the most popular or template, if you want to call it, which is Rogers, Bruno, Mbumo, Enzo. And the fifth one will be either Rice or Saka, right? It depends on your structure on what you want to get. So let's go Arsenal midfielder. So that one is, I think, fairly straightforward. We've talked about these picks at length, so we don't need to go there more. In defense, let's talk about it more in terms of, instead of Raya, I'm going to say double Arsenal defense. Three DEFCON monsters in Anderson, Senesi, Richards, who rotate really well, and Chalobah with great fixtures. This is what I'm trying to say with having the beauty of Raya, is it allows you these four centre backs who create DEFCON for fun. So in addition to Gabriel. So that was the idea, that they rotate well and you can play four at the back, you can play five at the back, because they DEFCON pretty much 75% of the games. So that's the thinking. Why centre backs is simply not just DEFCON. You want longevity. You want these players to play, dependable. For game week 31, you want them to play. Out of these guys, whoever is doubling, you keep them. Whoever is not doubling, you move them on. But you want potentially three of these defenders to be in your team till game week 38. So centre backs are just safer. So that's the thinking with that. I've talked about Raya and Dubravka as the two, because one could double in 26, one will play.
I think we are live now, guys. 1 second. Let's see. All right, that started. Guys were muted. I think. Oh, yeah, now you're back.
I think it's back.
Yes, we are back. So
Nice.
I was on my
here.
wildcard draft,
1
and
second,
I had
Pras.
talked about the centre backs. So I'm going to continue talking about the goalkeeper. So as I'd mentioned,
Wait, I have to
the reason
change
I
your
like Ryan
windows.
Dubravka. Oh, should I continue?
Continue, please continue.
He
Please
can
continue.
continue.
Okay. Is simply that one should double in 26, the other will play in 31, and both should double in 33. So if you're looking for a bench boost in 33, then I think this is the pairing that works really well. Centre backs I've talked about, midfield I've talked about. I think the slight flaw with this one is that you have Haaland and two cheapies. Whether you call it a flaw, but it's a structural difference to what you'll see with the other two guys. And that's because I have Saka. You can easily downgrade Saka to Rice and upgrade Mane to Thiago. I think that is affordable. So if it's not, you'll have to downgrade something else. But I like this because of many reasons. The defense I've talked about, the centre backs. You want long-term centre backs. You want a captain for 26, and I think Saka, Gabriel, and Raya, or Saka, Gabriel, and another Arsenal player are the three best that you can go for. If that is Rice, that's great. I just like Saka's upside for the double. The Man United mids are here. I think you got the two guys from Chelsea. You could go for Sanchez, but that's where we are. With this team, even if Krupi becomes a problem later, you have enough cover. You have five defenders to cover it. Mane should be reliable, so you can deal with it. And the biggest point that LR made actually when the stream was lagging is this is a long-term team. You don't need to touch this team until there's a problem. Probably the first transfer that this team would make would be Saka down to Sade and Mane or Krupi up to Thiago in game week 27. Or you could even wait till game week 28. That was the first time you would touch the team. Maybe you could do Enzo to Wilson somewhere down the line as well. But that's it. Then you keep the team, you wait for 31 doubles, carry 5 free transfers. That's the thinking.
Yeah, my comment on Pras's draft was just that for people that are looking to be stingy and can afford to wait and watch, this squad has so much depth and robustness that you can sit for 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks without changing up too much. And then there's enough cash cows in this draft that if you want to change up the structure, it becomes easier to do so as well. So that's it.
Yep. Mappy, we made a pretty smooth recovery, man. But
Nice work.
Very
good.
smooth.
Secure state Rice for the win.
Yes, nice.
Yeah. I like the draft plus. I've got a very similar midfield. What I put in Rice over there for Saka. Upgraded the forward spot. I sprinkled a bit more cash in defense.
Show it to everybody.
Got yours. I'll talk about mine first. So I've got Sanchez, Dubravka in goal. Gabriel, Timber, Munoz, and Anderson and Mukiele. The idea there is you're pretty much Timber and Gabriel. I think we're having a bit of lag over here for the video, but let me know, guys, in the chat if you do. Munoz, Anderson, Mukiele, Rice, Rogers, Enzo, Bruno, Bumo, Krupi, Evanilson, and Haaland. So again, Thiago over that Haaland spot, you could go there. Again, with the Rice down to Saka money, I've freed up some money in defense as well.
Essentially, you've used the money for a striker instead of Evanilson instead of like a cheapy striker, and Munoz instead of like a 4.5 million defender. So finding a little more upside there.
Exactly. I think it's worth it, man, because again, Saka, I think you can go take him on with the Gabriel captaincy. And the thing is now, let's talk Arsenal for a little bit. Now, they've been criticized a lot for that loss yesterday. Gary Neville and all these other teams are like talking about Arsenal. Maybe they're bottling it. I think Rice is the one who's definitely going to be like, okay, fine. He seems more of me a leader in the team. I think we're going to see an upturn in Rice's performances of the next few. A lot of these games are away games. And what I've seen as a pattern this season, Rice has done better in the away games than Saka.
He also had 3 shots and 4 chances created against us in that game. So his underlying numbers are also just good.
That's another thing. The XGI numbers for Rice are actually trending upwards, where Saka's are trending downwards now. I don't think, again, pound for pound, ignore pound for pound. I think Rice is potentially a better asset than Saka to own.
Yeah. It's just ceiling versus floor. And Rice has just a very good floor to compete against now. That's it.
I've also made another version here. Now I've made a cheaper version for people have to, like, say if you have trouble affording this, what you can do is take Munoz down to Richards. Then you can take Mukiele up to Senesi in that sense. So this is a rotation now. Wanted to mention for those teams now, Bournemouth, Palace and Fulham for up to game week 31. 24 you play Bournemouth, Senesi has Wolves away. 25 Fulham has Everton. Palace and 26, 27 we know have Burnley and Wolves. 28 Bournemouth have Sunderland at home. Fulham 29 have West Ham, then Palace have Leeds, Burnley at home. Just a good fixture run. And with these guys, any week you, let's say you have to play them, they're good for DEFCON anyway in a bad fixture.
If I'm actually looking at it, the backup, the second
fixture
is
2
decent.
of them. Exactly. You can play 2 every week.
Which is an advantage in terms of having a robust squad. I really like the structure in that sense.
Yep.
Go back to your draft, LR.
Yeah, the thinking here was if you're somebody like me that wants to force chasing and wants to run behind a certain ceiling, etc. Right? That's the thinking behind this. Where I've gone for a couple of Wolves players, hoping that the upward trajectory continues and you get a double. I've gone for Munoz and I've gone for Hill. So there's a compromise in defense, but what that compromise leads to is I think Semenyo is as sexy as it comes when it comes to a differential right now in midfield over an Arsenal pick. I've left the third Arsenal pick open so that you can decide later where you want to go with the third Arsenal spot. So this is slightly risky, more aggressive. Let's get points now on the board sort of a draft. And I was really trying hard to fit Watkins in, but then the way I was structuring this, I think you have to pick between 2 of Semenyo, Munoz and Watkins as expensive differentials. And I think Thiago's robustness and the fact that you're going to probably need him in 3 or 4 weeks later just makes me want to go for him now compared to the Watkins as a differential pick. That's all.
I really like the Semenyo option over there. Like you said, you've ignored the Arsenal guys. Now you're effectively saying if they get the double, Semenyo or one of these guys is going to become Rice.
Yeah, and it can be Bumo, it can be Semenyo, it can be Rogers, right? That move for Rice. Like you wait and watch and see who's overperforming or underperforming there.
Or Sanchez to Raya. All options are open.
All options are open. Yeah.
How much money you have in the bank?
0.0.
You can't go Sanchez to Raya. The other moves are self-contained.
Yeah.
Because Rice is cheaper than all the other guys. You can get there in one move.
Yeah. The idea was just going uber cheap on the bottom 2 defenders, but I think Pras makes a good point about the implications this might have for future doubles like 33.
And when just by sprinkling that Munoz money around, you can get that effective rotation. I think that just appeals to me.
Yeah.
There's just so many good picks.
But that won't appeal to somebody who's outside 1.5 million. Right? They want to chase 30, 40 quick points to make ground right.
You want the guy who can get the 15-pointer.
Exactly. That's the thinking behind this.
So again, now we talk about the guys we've seen in terms of our Venn diagrams. We've seen Bruno, Enzo, Rogers, pretty much all of these drafts. We've seen Haaland there. Pras not gone for Thiago. He's deaded that forward spot. We've all got double Arsenal defense. One Palace. The defender, I think the cheaper guys in the Chalobah spots are compromisable. But I think if you can get to Bruno this week, you can get to Enzo. Even the second United midfielder is not necessarily essential this week. We already spoke about it. Maybe you can give them a week to evaluate. I think you can hold on the wildcard, man.
Yeah. There's nobody who's essential at the moment. Genuinely nobody who's put, except for like maybe Bruno Fernandes, like who you should get right now. Nobody's really like performing week on week. Like that's the one consolation
We've had
I have.
5 weeks of under 50 points average. I mean, this is from All About FPL. They tweeted this. And it's the variance in scores is mostly coming from somebody's defender got a 10-pointer versus yours got a 1.
Anything else, guys? We talk bus teams.
Let's do bus teams.
Pras, your team first up.
So, double Arsenal defense: Van Dijk, Alderete, O'Reilly. In midfield, Szoboszlai, Bruno, Saka, Enzo. Up top, Haaland and
Sorry guys,
Ekitike.
let's just touch about captaincy since we are here right now. Let's just do the captaincy
let's
thing.
do
I
that.
don't have the Ropti numbers, but I pulled the odds from Solio a little bit. This week, Chelsea are on top, 2.16, and you have Man City and Man United are about 1.9, 1.98. And I should mention a comment that the above average guys make every week. Strikers don't score against Tottenham. What do you guys make of that?
I thought they were defensively rubbish against Burnley, man. Like that defense looks like it's there for the taking. Genuinely, yes, I know Spurs versus City has been like a odd matchup where they tend to get the better of them, etc. But I just do believe in the wounded tiger syndrome, etc. I think it's a risky bet to move against Haaland this week, and it's like at the moment I'm like 60% leaning towards Haaland, 40% leaning towards Bruno, because Bruno is also in sublime form. But like we've also historically not done the best against Fulham. They've sort of been like an Achilles heel in terms of how we do against certain teams, etc. And Silva knows how to set up they consider a fair few chances to Brighton as well. But how Silva will set up against Brighton compared to how Silva will set up against United at Old Trafford will be very, very different. And that old stat that I read out last week, right? We won 4 out of the 18 games so far this season where we had possession less than 45%. But Bruno doesn't require to do much to get 8 points. 1 assist, DEFCON, and he's hitting 9 points. And then there's a way higher ceiling because United are in a good moment. And Bruno himself is in out of world form. Like everything he's doing, everything that he's pulling off he's probably the most informed player in the league right now, probably. In terms of that's how well he's playing at the moment. So that's a good thing. Is this Spurs were really poor, man, against Burnley. The kind of chances and the defending that they did. So at the moment, I'm leaning 60% Haaland, 40% Bruno. Let's see where we are because it's close between the two for me at the moment.
We should also mention that Porro and Van der Ven are also currently doubts for the midweek fixture. We could miss out on the weekend. I think Van der Ven missing out is also a very big deal in that sense. And I think in the general sentiment over the last few weeks, it feels like we've been getting carried away a little bit. Like, oh my God, Manchester United are back and Haaland is suddenly shit now. I'm sort of wary of not buying into that, sort of getting into that sort of like ride the wave or ride the herd mentality. I think maybe the start of the week, a few days ago, I was like on Bruno, but I'm thinking just move back to Haaland, man. This guy won't keep blanking whatsoever. And maybe we're getting carried away with Manchester United and Bruno a little bit.
But when I'm debating that internally, like I feel like Bruno needs to do a lot lesser to get 10 points compared to Haaland. Like, you know what I'm saying?
One assist usually gets it.
Routes to points, bonus points, DEFCON, set pieces, etc. And I feel like deep blocks will suit him as the number 10. Like, it's perfect for him. So I'm really struggling with this one between the two.
Plus, where you at? You got Bruno on your bus.
It's 60-40, but on Bruno. And if it'll be 50-50, it'll be Bruno. So something will have to change drastically for me to change.
Is that part of the chasing thing in terms of the rank?
I think so. If they're similar players, then why? Like, why should I change?
Yeah. I feel like Haaland has the higher ceiling, Bruno has got the higher floor. It's weird to say it, but it just feels like that at the moment when I'm discussing that with you guys.
Interesting. I think maybe the midweek games will play into it. Let's say if Spurs have a bad result against Frankfurt, maybe you could see the tide turning against Thomas Frank a little bit. And again, the home form, it's all very weird. James was talking about it on Planet FPL and how even the away end against Burnley was quite poisonous. So again, with Spurs, we're talking about maybe they go a goal down. Guess all very poisonous in that stadium really quick. With Manchester United, if you're 0-0 down, the crowd's still going to be cheering you on. And we still haven't seen this Manchester United against a deep block.
But you know who does well against deep block? Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno. He'll do well in this game. Like, he'll get a lot of the ball and a lot of the chances. He'll get, like, his NPXGI numbers will be high. He'll have a high volume of chances created and shots taken.
Yep. Now, as much as I try not to bring rank into it itself, right? So I don't want to think that, okay, maybe I'm doing a good rank, I'll captain this guy. Ultimately, you still want to captain the best pick this week. And I generally think maybe yesterday I was more on Bruno, but more I think about it and speaking to you guys, I think I'm leaning towards back to Haaland.
What's the thinking that's making you think about that? Like, you're not rating Spurs, the bad moment that Spurs are in. That's influencing you?
I'm just expecting City, like you mentioned, the whole smell blood thing, in the sense to play back into it. But again, in terms of the number of goals, I think Guardiola will be a little bit wary of the Spurs counter-attack build. This team, Spurs team in particular, doesn't have a counter-attack. And it's also playing into my mind that Frank has generally been okay against Pep. He was, against with Brentford, he had a few good successes over there. So he knows how to set up. And this is the one game he can say, okay, yeah, this game I can park the bus. And the crowd won't really get behind him as much, right? Obviously, you can't park the bus against a Burnley at home, but against City, you can play a bit more defensive and get away with it.
One other question. Like, I'm confident about Bruno's 90 minutes. Are you confident about Haaland 90 minutes? Like, after last week, that seed of doubt is in our head, where he can get subbed off for the last 15-20 minutes for Marmoush now that he's putting his hand up, right? And that's also a slight worry. What do you reckon?
You're expecting Haaland to get full 90 midweek unless they potentially blast Galatasaray in 60-70.
Yeah, that's also a factor. Like,
It's
now I'm
close.
50-50. I
It's
was
very
60-40 Haaland. Now I'm 50-50. It's
Very
tight,
close.
man.
I think we'll all share more thoughts on our team selections by the weekend, but right now I can't generally tell you which I'm going for.
Yeah.
It's close, man. Like, we should acknowledge it. It's close.
Yep. It's just like when I saw the highlights for Spurs against Burnley, the kind of chances they were conceding, the kind of defending they were doing, I was like,
But
man,
again,
Spurs are so bad.
Again, that's the thing, right? We can't
Different
again
game.
set up different games, different setup. We can't really
Yeah.
read anything into the way. Similarly, how Fulham
Yeah.
set up against Brighton, how Spurs set up against Burnley, it's going to be completely different.
Agreed.
There's an unknown factor a little bit with Manchester United. And every time it's been like Manchester United are back, get back down to earth. It just feels like it might be that kind of game.
It's possible, but the difference is that Bruno's positioning is very different. Like, you can get unlucky. Obviously, that's the game we play. But there is no chance in hell that Bruno doesn't take 4 shots in this game and he doesn't create 4 chances. Nothing could go in. But there's also no doubt that Haaland gets 2 big chances, right? So ultimately, that's why they're both close. So, but I just feel like if it's close, then I'm just going to do that more, because ultimately, what's the point, right? If I'm going to captain 180% EO captain, what's the point? If I think it's close, if I think Haaland is better, obviously I'll captain Haaland.
If you're sitting 150k, what would you have done? Like, it's important for people that like listening to you. Would that be more Haaland then?
Possibly, if Haaland doesn't play 90 minutes, if he gets a 70th minute sub, and then why am I getting green this
Yeah,
blink?
I don't know, your video is bugging out on my screen a little.
Hold on.
That's okay. We're almost done with the stream, so let's push through.
Okay.
Maybe you should turn off your video. Maybe try reconnecting, Pras.
Okay, anyway, so I'll complete on LR's question, because I'm also on my bus team, right? So let me just finish that and then I'll restart while you guys are talking about your bus team. I don't think it should matter that much, because I'm not a chasing kind of, like, if I was chasing, I would wildcard now, right? I'd still go for who I think will score most points. But I genuinely think, having done it with Bruno before 2 times and with Saka 2 times with Haaland, I'm okay with it now. You know, that fear that, okay, what happens if Haaland does well? Yeah, so what, man? Like, I'm losing 13 points to Szoboszlai bench every week. So it doesn't matter that much. So my risk appetite is slightly higher because I'm chasing. So I'm conscious that maybe if I was 100k, maybe my answer would have been Haaland as well. But like, this is, Man United are on a massive high, right? I mean, this team it's a home game. They've just beaten the top 3 teams in the league. And Bruno's the talisman. There's no doubt about it. So I'm just getting good vibes from the fixture.
For sure.
Good.
So I'll finish my bench team, or should I do the bus team last?
Do the bus team. Just first, just out of curiosity, who's higher at the moment on solo and review? Do we know?
Haaland is slightly higher.
Marginally higher.
Slightly higher, so but very close between the two as well.
Yeah. So that's why I said, if it's 50-50, then I'll choose Bruno anyway.
All right. Cool.
So
go with your bus team.
Okay. So my bus team, I think so there's 3 potential issues. I don't need to solve all 3 this week, obviously. Is O'Reilly, Szoboszlai, and Ekitike. I think the others I can live with, right? I mean, I know Van Dijk is part of them, but I can live with him because he's got decent fixtures. He plays sometimes DEFCONs. So I will probably take a hit this week, but I need to determine what the hit has to be. And that will be determined by Liverpool. Is Slot staying? What am I seeing is Ekitike's minutes this week? So one option is Ekitike down to Krupi or Mane, and then Potts up to Mbumo. So that would basically, one dead spot would clear up, and I would have 2 playing players, then I can bench either O'Reilly or Szoboszlai this week. So that's the first thing that came to me. But then I'm also thinking maybe Ekitike is a keep. So then the other option is Szoboszlai and O'Reilly. Those 2 guys go to either Rogers and Senesi. So that's option number 1. Or somebody cheaper than Senesi, let's say Hill, let's say Richards and Mbumo. So long story short, 2 of the guys will go, and 2 of either a Bournemouth defender, Rogers or Mbumo will come in. So that's the plan.
Can you do Sobo to Rogers direct?
No.
You can. Just short, no? Maybe a 0.1 something short.
But then I would have to play O'Reilly anyway. So in fact, if I was to do that, I
don't think that's a terrible idea this week.
Yeah, but you have to.
I think O'Reilly is a good play.
Yeah, but next week then both again have not a great fixture. So I can. Let's see. I want to also see O'Reilly's minutes. That's also an important midweek thing I need to get. So maybe I keep him. It's not an issue at all. So I could also do Szoboszlai and Ekitike to something and something like Mbumo and Evan Nilsson. So there are options available that I can do with the team. But what I'm trying to do is once I make these moves this week, then ideally no moves until 27. So roll to 3 transfers, then move the Saka money to Thiago and do stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Give us a try on the video again, Pras. Let's see if we get those green bars. Meanwhile, LR, go ahead.
So I've got Verb, Timber, Gabriel, O'Reilly, Dorgu. Feel bad for the lad. Palmer, Gordon, Boomer, Rogers, Ekitike, Haaland, and Richards first sub. I've got 1 free transfer. I've got 2 potential parts that are in my head at the moment. Earlier, I was looking at Gordon and Ekitike to Thiago and Bruno Fernandes for a hit. The problem with this is that I would be priced out of this hit after tonight because Bruno is expected to rise tonight. And then I'll be priced out if I wait for the move till tomorrow, which I'm planning to do now because now the team is slightly on the ropes and I can't afford to make early moves in case somebody else is injured. Now that we know that Dorgu is out for 10 weeks. And Palmer also, if he plays midweek, I don't know if he's going to play the weekend, right? I want to hear what he's like. It seems like they're going to play him maybe once a week with the way the training, etc. is going. And then he could easily just play the Napoli game and then the Arsenal games. And I'm thinking I'll do Palmer to Bruno this week. It opens up a host of other moves in terms of it opens up Watkins, Munoz, etc. for me later. And I just play Ekitike and Gordon this week, who are decent picks this week anyway, in my opinion, because transitional games, maybe you see some goals, maybe you see a basketball game. We've seen that with Newcastle, Liverpool previously as well. So those are the 2 options. If I feel like Palmer looks good for the weekend, then I have to go lower than Thiago. That's why I was looking at Evan Nilsson. That's why I was looking at Barry. That's why I was looking at Igor Jesus, those kind of names. So those are the 2 options that I have in terms of paths at the moment.
Looking at your team, I think Palmer to Bruno is a sensible transfer. How much money does that get you for the Gordon upgrade?
I don't know, but I won't spend a hit on upgrading Gordon to anybody this week. Then I'll see out the.
Play Gordon.
I'll play Richards.
But you have Dorgu also. And you're playing Richards anyway because Dorgu is done now.
Yeah, and I'll play. I don't mind Gordon against Liverpool. The sort of matchup, I don't mind Gordon and Ekitike playing in that game. It's okay.
You know, Gordon's whole family supports Liverpool. You know the story, right?
Yes, but I don't mind.
When they were playing the final, they were rooting for him to lose.
Yeah. Also, like Gordon's in the first game also, I think he was insane before he got red carded against Liverpool. I remember that game also. He was on something in the first 30-40 minutes of the game where he was tackling and running like a madman as well. So I'm all right. I won't take a hit if I'm selling Palmer.
Sure. Anything to add, Pras?
No, and I mean the one thing you can think about is doing the move early, and then unless you're absolutely ruling out the wildcard, let's have that as the back pocket. If there's one more injury, then you're close to a wildcard here.
But I think I'm 2 or 3 moves away from fixing it. There are a lot of. I have a lot of picks that I really like long term. I'm not too worried about it. So
the Dorgu thing is very unlucky. He would have become a potential pick. People are picking on wildcard to actually becoming a problem in your team. The luck there is just so high.
Yeah, that's okay now. I was sad about it. Yeah, the bad luck is there. But to be fair, right? I had my fair share of luck this week, right? Where I got a Richards goal, a Dorgu goal, a Boomo gift as well. So those things sort of worked out and maybe they even out. So yeah. Palmer is the big question, and I don't think I can decide on what to do with Palmer until I hear from the manager on Friday. So I think there's value in waiting, and there's backup options.
I've already made one transfer this week. I did Gordon to Enzo. I couldn't stand the sight of Gordon in my team anymore, and the fact that I had some transfers, prices were moving both ways. Decided to pull the trigger. I've still got 2 free transfers and 1.9 in the bank. The team is Verbruggen, Timber, Gabriel, Mukiele, Rogers, Saka, Bruno Cap as it stands, Enzo, Rupi, Haaland, and Thiago with O'Reilly, Hall, and Miley on the bench. So the moves I was thinking of potentially this week are Saka to Rice and Miley to Bumo. In that sense, which gives me the sort of wildcard midfield which you're looking at. But this team doesn't necessarily need another transfer this week. And I sort of feel naked now going into any weekend with only one free transfer. I sort of want to keep at least a second transfer in the bank. So I don't feel comfortable blowing my entire load this week. So I think maybe get 1 week of information. By 25, we get the idea if Arsenal do have that confirmed double. I get to see Bumo against a deep block. I think I'll be in a better position to make those same moves next week rather than this. What do you guys think?
Fair.
Yeah, you'd have to then bench Krupi this week, so might as well play him, right?
Exactly. That's what I figured.
Yeah. Also, why was Zaka not playing this week? Was he injured or something?
Injury. Some injury. We don't know the length of absence yet.
If he's injured, I'd play O'Reilly over him. Over Mukiele.
Yeah, sure. The thing is, Burnley have actually been very good for DEFCON against recently. Tottenham are not. Something to think about.
And Sunderland highest clean sheet odds this week, man.
Yeah, but like they were poor against West Ham. Conceding 3 goals to West Ham has something to say, and I just don't think they were the same team without Zaka.
Home away. So home versus away. Sunderland are a different team at home.
Guys, let's do those. I think it's been a marathon stream. The timing doesn't show on mine because we had the abort in the middle.
It's over 2 hours.
Well over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours. Yeah. Nice. Let's do the super chats.
Kappa Jr. He's wildcarding and thinking about triple Arsenal defender instead of picking Rice as a third Arsenal spot. We spoke about that, very much viable. What do you think, guys? Think about Evan Nilsson. Also spoke about that. The double up is very much viable. Anything to add, guys?
Double up as an Evan Nilsson and?
Rupi.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. And fine to triple up on Arsenal defense too.
Yeah, because you can still get Senesi. There's no 4th Bournemouth pick you're going to want.
Yeah.
Ronak, shit scored this week. Join the club. But watch Lincoln Park at Lola. United beat Arsenal. So overall, a great weekend. Similar to you, LR.
Welcome to the club, Shana.
Advait, great pod as always. Palmer DCL to Pedro Bumo.
I was looking at Pedro too, but I'm just worried that Pedro might be the same trap as Palmer is with regards to minutes. So go for the security of minutes is what my answer is. That's why I reverted to Thiago if I could afford him. And you can afford him if you can afford Pedro because both are the same price. So my recommendation is go Thiago.
Pras, any thoughts?
No, agreed. Agreed, Gaylor.
Last one from Chinmay. On my best run, aiming for top 1K, 3 free transfers. Dorgu, Hall, DCL to JP, Chalobah, Cash. Or should I prioritize Bruno, Rogers? Definitely prioritize Bruno or Rogers, man. His current attackers are Cunha, Tavernier, Gravenberg, Saka, Enzo, Haaland, DCL, Ekitike. I think maybe prioritize Dorgu out, I can understand. But I think you definitely should look in your midfield more so. Bruno, get in Bruno and Rogers, and Enzo he already has. Yeah. Buy Bruno Rogers.
Agreed.
Don't sell Cunha.
Yes.
Good differential.
Actually hold on.
Yeah. He's a good differential. I think he does well against a deep block with having something to play. I think he will do well this weekend. Also, he could have just scored a hat trick in the first 15 minutes against Fulham in the reverse fixture. I remember that game very, very clearly.
In the last game, he had that as almost assist for Mount, inches offside.
Yeah. So yeah, hold on to Cunha. Good differential.
Wrap up, guys.
Monster pod, man. Good one.
Monster pod. I am hungry.
All right, so we will end that with just a nice like and subscribe plug. We hope you guys thought this was compelling enough for you guys to just hit the like and subscribe button. We tried to cover everything we could. We tried to be comprehensive, and you have 3 more videos to look out for from each of us, where we'll discuss the implications of the midweek matches as well as news. Any last words, boys?
Watching those guys, because especially in the weeks where do we have UCL, there's a lot to unpack, and it's going to be incredible tomorrow. You're going to have 16 matches. at the same time.
At the same time.
So a bit of fun. There'll be a lot for us to talk about in those team selection videos. Do not miss. Thanks for joining us.
Indeed.
Like and subscribe. Hope your wildcard absolutely smashes it. So